Welcome back, Pipe Dreams E5. This one's going to be good. First off, I want to say a massive thank you to everybody that's been listening, commenting, sharing the Pipe Dreams. This is, I think for me and Corey, this has been really good. We're super excited. It's blowing up for us, in a way that we never thought it would be. We love talking. We love sharing stories and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm really excited about this guest. We're in Florida at my house.
Yep.
And
we're at Casa de Jimmy.
Yeah, I've been learning that Spanish day like 74, something like that.
But,
Mi amigos.
Yeah, no, it's great to be down here. We just did another podcast this morning, so we're just busting them out, trying to get as many done as we can. So excited to share what we did this morning, as well as our next guest here, two-time AFT Twins champ, right?
They call him two-time.
Also, one of our good buddies and just an all-around great guy. He's accomplished a lot in a short amount of time, and we're really excited to have him on. I think he'll offer a lot of insight into kind of the state of flat track right now, and there's a lot of big things going on for him, but the sport as a whole, right? So I think, let's get into it. Welcome, Briar.
Yeah, Shayna's husband.
Shayna's husband.
How are you?
Boys, how are we? We're good. Yeah, what an intro, especially bringing Shayna in. First off, I've listened to now JL10 and Joe Roberts. You guys are killing it. Like, I'm a big podcast guy. James was calling me like, "Hey, dude, what do you think? What can we change?" I'm like, "Dude, honestly, you guys are doing a good job." So it's cool to be on here. I think that, like I said, you guys are doing a really good job. The filming, the audio, everything is top quality. And dude, it's good to be here.
It's good to have you.
It's great to have you. So you've been kind of in Florida here you came down a little earlier than normal, maybe like a week or two earlier.
Yeah, me and Shayna and my dad, we want to do a little bit of traveling there at the end of the year last year. So I was real up in the air about riding Corey's race because last year I almost got beat up by Tyler Scott. And honestly, like, dude, the kids on the 450s are so good that I go there and I usually get smoked. But I'm like, you know what, let's go. So yeah, I blitzed down from Pennsylvania with Shayna, and my dad came from Illinois and met us there, and we spent 3 days at the Throwdown. And
you're on a 450 again.
On a 450 again, and I was actually pretty competitive, which I was like kind of surprised by. So we got sporty, had a good couple days, but what that did was got us down here earlier. I have a really good realtor down here that helped me purchase a house.
I heard that.
Yeah.
There's like this new guy in the market. He's
Percentage was a little bit high on the back end, but other than that, like
4/5 commission.
You know what I mean? Like, it was just it was cool. So Shane and I actually just purchased a home here, and been here since January 5th, or I think we got to the Throwdown like the 3rd or something like that, and just going through the motions, the grind of Florida. So it's been good.
Nice, man. This off season's a little bit different for you from what I've heard a little bit. What's going on?
Yeah, dude, honestly, stress, cadet, and I'm not even the one doing everything. Shayna is. She's taking care of everything, really, but on the backside for me, just trying to support her, and then also having issues on the racing side. Just trying to get a program together. You're a team owner or a manager, a man of many roles as you are.
Jackie Mood. We bring up Jackie Mood way
exactly.
too much on this pod.
Dude, get him a check, a really big check. Get him a real big check. But yeah, just trying to piece together a program that you can be competitive with. And that's a lot, along with a lot of other life obstacles. It's just like, yeah, it's been really good to have a home down here because we used to stay in a camper, and just a little bit of space has been really good for us, and all the stress and just trying to stay grounded, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So we've stayed really grounded with everything we've had thrown at us, and yeah, things have kind of come to fruition at a really good time, but a really short time before the first national. But it's been really good to be down here.
Yeah, so that came out, I guess, just now, right? That you're switching teams up. You obviously aren't with Factory Indian anymore. So what's this next chapter looking like?
Yeah. So actually, like,
for everybody, we are a week before Daytona.
Yep, week to go. So my deal came out a week before Daytona. So we're pushing it for sure. But yeah, I'm excited. Shayna and I are staying together. We were together on Indian Motorcycle, and that was kind of a cool deal. We really were pushing. And dude, the off season seems like it just ended, but it was so long ago. So we get done with the year last year. We're like, hey, we want to stick together. Let's build a team together. It's not a secret that Shayna's coming towards the end of her career, and she wants to move into a management role. And and take over a team essentially and run a team because she's really, really good at that. So our goal was like, let's stick together, let's race, and let's see how many more years Shay has. Ideally, I have a lot more. But even from like beginning of December till now, like that plan and that idea changed so many times. So we went from we're teamed up to, hey, figure out however the hell you can race, let's race. And then now fortunately, Rick Ware approached us, and we actually approached Rick at the end of the last season. Shayna did, and had the idea of us doing something like this, and he was a little bit weary. And about a month ago, we met up with him and kind of said, hey, let's maybe you still want to give it a shot. And for some reason it clicked and it made sense for him. It made sense for us. And yeah, fortunately we've, for the last month, been just on a nonstop grind. Shayna has, and I've been supporting it, and we've been building bikes and throwing everything together. But yeah, she'll be on a KTM 450, and I'll be switching from an Indian to a KTM Duke 890, which the Rocket Rispoli kind of introduced to the American flat truck paddock for us.
I heard you have a little experience riding around that bike.
Yeah, I wasn't right.
There was a race this year, wasn't there?
There was a race that I didn't see the bike. Like I saw a blur go by, and I'm like, I pulled off and asked Dave's, and I said, "Are those the other guys?" He said, "Yeah, they are." I said, "Damn it!" So I head back out. I said, "All right." I said, "That guy's got to be doing like 220 mile an hour."
Dude, so funny. We literally were talking with Corey about it, and how we were talking about you, and I was like, "Man, he's like got to be one of my best friends right now." But I'm like, at fucking Red Mile, I was like, I thought this guy was gonna shoot me. He came off and he was like, "Hey, motherfucker!" And I was like, "What, me?" And I was like, "Hey, dickhead,
We're boys, I swear."
I was so bent, and not at you. I was just at the scenario, like, and I love Dave Zanotti, Michelle DeSalva, but there were 450s at that race that were quicker than my twin. And obviously with the restrictions and so on, like it was all new for us. That was the first mile. They were good on the half miles, good on the TTs and stuff, but we got there, and that thing, like, I didn't know if I was in top gear, third gear, fourth gear, what I was in. And I'm like, there's nothing here. And we're in the main event. And I swear I'm in a line with Vanderkoy and Robinson, and they're slowly just doing this. And like, we're just coming off the corner, and Rispoli comes by us in a wobble. And like, dude, he gets all three of us in one straightaway. And I'm like, guys, do we stay out here? Do we pull in? It's just a blur. I'm like, oh man. So we pulled off, and I'm fuming, right?
Because there's a red flag.
There was a red flag. I think Bronson grenaded it, the XG, and I pulled off, and I looked over at James. I think I flipped you off. I'm like, 100%. I just give him the bird. And like, I think I was joking at the time, but I was so bent. And then Wales trying to joke with me, and I'm battling for 26th. And
yeah, it's tough.
James is about to win the thing. And I'm like, and nothing against James. I was just, he was the only one. I was venting with him, but it was funny. It was a good time.
That's cool. So you'll be on the KTM. Obviously a big change.
Huge.
Yeah. What? How much support are you actually getting from KTM in this kind of deal?
So it's not a lot. They gave me some motors. They gave us a little bit of budget on the back end, and yeah, just enough that I wanted to do it. And it wasn't. I mean, to be honest with you, even without it, I was doing it. Like, Indian Motorcycle came to me with a little bit more than I thought that they were gonna give me. To be honest, they were like, "Hey, we got a little bit more than we thought." And I'm like, guys, I'm burnt. Like, I need to do something. I'm done. Like, I'm this close to heading out. I need to change something. And even I actually called Chris Fillmore, and I said, "Hey, dude, I'm going to ride a KTM next year." And he's like, "Yeah, okay, cool." And I'm like, no, seriously. And so he hangs up, and he calls back. He's like, "Wait, are you serious? Like, you're going to ride one?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like, whether you help or not, I'm riding a KTM. I'll find a way." And he's like, "Let me call you back." And then he calls back like a couple hours later, and he's like, "Hey, I got a little bit worked up." And like I said, it's not much, but it's enough to make it more interesting than what it was for sure with the contingencies and stuff. So yeah, like I said, I was going another direction, and that's nothing towards Indian Motorcycle. Yeah. And to be honest with you, it has nothing to even do with the restrictions that we've been, like, a lot of people don't know this, but at the end of 2020, I was done. I'm like, guys, and then once again, Indian Motorcycle, incredible to me, to my family. Probably the best 4 years I've had thus far in my career. I just, even in 2020, just wrapped up my second championship. We're working on contracts. I'm like, I'm ready for a change. Like, I'm ready to do something different. I'm just the type of guy that, I mean, we did really good in 2020. And I was still like, you know what, Shay, I think I should maybe go a different route. And she's like, "You sure?" And I'm like, it's just the way we function, me and Dave Zanotti, and I was just ready. So I didn't have another option that made sense because Indian was really heavy on keeping me. And I didn't even go to them and say, hey, I want to go somewhere else. It was more just like mentally at home, I'm going, hey, I want to maybe do something different. So yeah, all this is coming to fruition, and it's really, really last minute, but it's dude, it's so exciting to think about not being on an Indian. And like I said, once again, nothing against the manufacturer, nothing against their brand. I'm just excited.
I think
for
they're on their
change.
way out anyways. Like they know they are. They're prepping their exit strategy in a way. I think they're doing it in a good way, not destroying the guys who have purchased their bikes and whatnot, and still putting up contingency. They don't have to.
No.
They literally don't have
Most
to,
brands
but they're
don't. They
doing
just
it.
pull the plug and that's it.
Yeah, and they just, all these guys with all these bikes, they're never going to be able to get rid of them except for collections. But like, go back, you were on the factory team 3 years, right?
Four.
But what was the first year?
2019 through 22. So 19, 20, 21, 22. So 4 years.
So I keep doing that.
You keep missing contracts, dude.
Yeah.
That's all right.
So
You got your own. That's why you're all thrown off. Just writing, signing deals, dude. You just don't even pay attention.
Kind of living the factory life. You came from riding Kawasaki's. You got the opportunity with Dave Z, pretty much going from a van,
Yeah.
barely making mains, to Dave Z giving you a shot to like being a factory guy, and then like winning. I mean, you won before, but becoming like Jared's pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Tell us how like that was so quick, and most people don't really get that kind of up. Like you literally went from still in the semis to winning championships.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so when I first got with Dave Z, we hopped on a Kawasaki, showed up to Daytona. Thing wasn't painted. I rode it for the first time in a parking lot before the TT. Like that was our official test, right? We didn't even go to a track. We just rode it in the parking lot. And then the next day I fast qualify, and I'm like, but everything just felt so good. So we go through 2017. I'm competitive. Like I actually was the first one to beat the Indian, an unrestricted Indian, heavy wheeled Indian, heavy flywheeled Indian. First one to beat it, Lima, which was really, really cool. That
was a big race actually, because you were the first one to stop.
That's what I mean.
I think Corey looked up. It was a Harley and an Indian. Like they're trained.
Their dominance. Yeah. There'd been no other brand.
Yeah,
Exactly.
That's
so
huge.
It was cool. So we go through the whole year, and I mean, I'm in it. And for some reason, I'm in it to the point where I'm like battling with Mies, and maybe not quite Mies. He was on a different planet that year, but Smith and Baker, and I think Johnny Lewis rode an Indian for a couple rounds, and we got dicey, and like really good year. So not probably on the average fan wouldn't be like, oh, Bauman's killing it. But for me, like you said, I'm coming from winning semis, barely like getting into the main, and then being
Chasing
that
the
like
G-bar.
the G bar was huge, right? And that was my year. 16 was the G bar, like 10th through 18th, I'll be in there and I'll be fighting for it. But then all of a sudden, I go from 10th through 18th to winning a couple races, a lot of podiums, and like I said, on paper it doesn't look great, but to me, I'm like, dude, I got a shot. So we go into 2018, and that was when they released the Indian motorcycle to the public, and I'm still on my Kawasaki, which chassis handling was phenomenal, like so good, but my motor package was like not, especially when like there was probably 8 or 9 different Indians that showed up, Chad Coase, Carver. There was just a long list of guys hopping on the Indian, and I go through that. I probably did 3/4 of the year on the Kawasaki, and I had a couple podiums, but I also was just blowing these things up left and right, like rods through the cases, anything I could do. I was back shifting them intentionally just to get them to blow up because I didn't want to race it anymore. And keep that between us, yeah. But so yeah, back shifting them. But no, I mean, just so you're on this high in 17. I'm going, all right, I'm ready, and then I'm not really doing what I thought I was going to do. And Jerry Stinchfield of Roof Systems at one point goes, hey, man, if you want to ride an Indian, I got 2 of these things ready to go. And when you say ready to go, it's just stock. But that's ready to go. Like, I could win. And I told Dave, and Dave's like, hey, man, let's keep chipping away on the Kawasaki a little bit, and let's see where we end up. And finally got to the point, I'm like, Dave, either we go get these Indians and we put our suspension on them, or I got to go home, man. Like, this is not making sense. We're blown up. We're not competitive right now. I just need a change. And so we did that, and then, yeah, we basically did 2 or 3 races that were kind of spotty. Like, but when I say spotty, I'm going from blowing up every weekend to like 4th, 5th, 6th, and then all of a sudden, was it no Springfield Mile? I think it was Springfield Mile.
D-Man's just taking a piss back there.
Yeah, he just filmed the same. Yeah, Springfield Mile, like fast qualify, fast all day. Just and it took me a minute. Like the Indian was great, but it took me a minute to kind of get familiar with it and get a setup because they were a lot different than the Kawasaki because you were chasing grip and you had it with the motorcycle. So there was just different stuff. So finally, just like 4 races to go in the season 18, I go from breaking every weekend, 9th, 10th place again, to bang, fast qualify Springfield, win my heat race, beat Brian Smith, win my semi, because that's back when we went heat race semi main, and then was in the mix in the main. And I'm like, all right, dude, we're back. Like, this is it. This bike is sick. I'm in it. So I think that it went Springfield, Williams Grove, which I'm pretty sure it did. It did for sure. Went Springfield, Williams Grove. Go to Williams Grove, shortened program. Pretty sure I fast qualify that one. And I'm like, okay, it was shortened program because it rained that day. Sorry. So shortened program, I'm vibing. Bang, bust out the first one with the Indian. I'm like, okay, like this is.
Were you riding the high line?
I was up there, and I got it there.
I love it.
Like the high line. And I'm just going, Dave, and we're not used to it. I'm going, Dave, dude, this bike is so easy to ride. Let's start. We always chase a little bit more aggressive style setup than a lot of guys. I'm like, let's start giving our deal a little bit. So we do that. We go the next week into a mile, which I'm not generally a great mile guy, or at least my motorcycles and my experience didn't really allow me to be a great mile guy. And dude, I start in the back because I fried my clutch in the semi. So I just barely squeaked her into the main, fry the clutch, start the back, come through the pack.
Which race?
Minnesota Mile.
Oh, this is it.
It's like 30 degrees out.
Yeah.
Pass everyone. I catch B. Smith, pass him.
But you were up top. You said you never lifted, right?
For like 17 laps, dude. The track was phenomenal. We do like 17 laps, and these things are just full stick. It's like 30 degrees out, so the bikes are just taking more and more fuel. I'm full stick for like 17 of 25 laps. Pass me, start to check out. He brakes. Everything's sick. We're going through the motions. Run out of gas. And I'm the first person ever, like on the Indian, to run out of fuel. And granted, everyone else, they went to check their fuel and they couldn't because it was just whatever was left in the lines was what got them home. So, but yeah, getting back to, so basically the rest, we had one more race. I was in it. So I'm going, all right, we're dialed. Like I'm ready for 2019. So what was funny was Gary Gray calls me before the Minnesota Mile. He says, hey, you want to come by the office? We could have a little chat. I'm like, Shay, dude, they want me. They want me. I know it. Yeah. So I get there and I'm like, dude, what's up, Gary? I'm fired up.
Dude, where's the check?
I said, dude, just sign the, like, where do I sign? I'm
Where's
ready.
the dotted line?
But no, so it was funny. So I show up and then there's Bronson and Vanderkoy. And I'm like, what are you guys doing here? And they're like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, wait, I'm here for a meeting. Yeah, same. Oh no, but Jay, they don't want me anymore. But no, so I go in there and Gary, and granted, I totally understand why. Mies has just won 2 championships and won like 10 races each year. I go in there and he's like, hey, Briar, we want you next year. Here's what we want to pay you. So you're gonna get second in the championship. You're gonna win 2 races. You'll probably have 8 or 9 podiums, and dude, you'll have a phenomenal year. And I'm like, I'm gonna win 2 races. I'm gonna have 5 or 6 podiums. He's like, that's what I have you kind of averaged out at. And granted, Gary's he's an engineer, so he's a big numbers guy. So, and I totally understand it. Like I said, I get it. Me is just absolutely dominated. I would totally think that that's what was coming the following year. So I'm just like, oh, Shay, he has no idea. And then Dave got the opportunity to work with the factory, and Paul Langley from SNS was also really hungry because he was bringing the team into SNS. And I think in a really long story I just gave you guys, that's where that quick pop came from, because had those real good last few races on the bike, and then had the opportunity to go into a factory where we had guys that were in-house that were hungry, which you can be factory and not have the best stuff. We know how that works. And I happened to have the guys that were like, dude, let's freaking do this. And Dave wanted to do it, and the rest was kind of history. We just went from, I think I got 3rd in the championship in 18, and I think I had 1 win and a couple podiums. And then the next year I had 18 podiums and 5 wins. So it was like,
big.
I was like, Gary, I didn't get second, dude. But no, it was fun. And I think it was one of those things that you kind of keep it between the household, me and Shay. And we're not ones to talk like about what we're capable of, but we were like, I think we can do something really great with this opportunity. Let's do everything we can to capitalize. And I think we did. So that was kind of where that quick step up came from.
That's kind of been a thing throughout your riding career, though, right? Because you didn't really start riding till a little bit later, right? You were like 8 years old or something like that.
Yeah. Bronson and I were a little bit later. We didn't we didn't really. Our parents weren't into the motorcycle deal, so we had a neighbor down the road that had a bike, and that's what got us going. I was like 8, he was 6, and yeah, we just kind of got a bike and started later than most. It wasn't one of the normal out of the womb right onto a bike deal. It was played the baseball for a little while, and granted, I'm only 8, it's not real long, but a couple of years of baseball, and then got into the riding thing. So,
And then when you actually started racing flat track, like at a pro level, you also didn't spend much time in singles or anything like that. You went right into another kind of steep upward.
yeah, and I mean, I don't know if that was the best decision. I think that I might have jumped the gun a little bit because I had a good program going for me on the singles and made it hard.
I mean, I think I only raced you one time.
On a single?
Knoxville.
And that was like a one-off thing for you,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I did 7 races in the singles, and I'm like, dude, I'm ready for a twin, which was probably not the right decision by any means. But I'm like, give me a twin, which a kid from California with no throttle control whatsoever, like, let's just put him on a twin. And I remember, perfect example, Hagerstown Half Mile, which is the slickest racetrack in the history of the world. I get an incredible start, get up in like 5th, which granted, I'm 4th row. So I come from like 29th to 5th. I get in front of Brian Smith. I come off turn 2 and just right to the throttle stop. And that thing just goes, turns around backwards in front of everyone. And I'm just hanging on to her, just like, dude, I'm going to win, right? And we have a red flag, and Brian's like, dude, you got to chill. And I'm like, what's the problem? Like, is that not all right? So, yeah.
Chill.
I also, and then with stepping up early, it kind of probably hurt my value quite a bit because I didn't just go up to the twins class and do real well. I had some peaks and valleys, but a lot more valleys than peaks, and people don't really care about that. So it kind of hurt the overall value of myself.
It hides the talent a little bit,
for sure.
you know. And I mean, everybody now knows you as Briar Bauman, you know, one of the most, if not most naturally talented guys we've seen in a long time, kind of changing the sport. You know, how does that, like, changing the sport kind of deal? I think personally, like, dirt track's tough, right? Because there's 2 corners and it's pretty hard to go fast. Like, everyone's really, really fighting really for a little bit of time. But, you know, what I see for you is like your entry is so crucial. Maybe I'm giving up the big secret here, but I mean, what's crazy is that you've kind of changing the sport again on, you know, personally entries. And how were you able to kind of find that? Or has that just been so easy for you to find? Or did you actually, I mean, from the outside, I don't think people really think you're a thinker. You joke around a lot and this, that, and the other, but, you know, the boys know you're in it deep.
Yeah.
How did you get that, and where did that come from?
Honestly, a lot of it came from Dave Zanotti. I mean, he kind of gave me a really good package, and he kind of changed. And he's so advanced. He's a lot smarter than I am, basically. But I'm also a thinker, especially on race day. And he's just, yeah, he kind of taught me to capitalize on my strong suits and survive my weak spots. So if you can stay equal on the spots that so I always thought, all right, I'm really good at entering a corner. How do I make that consistent? And wherever I struggle, just try and, like, how do I stay close? And then how do I be better in my spots that I'm better? So that's kind of where I got that. And we joke about changing the sport a little bit. It was funny. When I first got on the Indian, everyone had these things, no swing arm angle. Front ends were real raked out, which I rode it a couple times like that. And then going back to me wanting the bike to be more aggressive, halfway through 2019, everyone's bikes had a bunch of swing arm angle. Their fronts were starting to suck in. Seats were starting to come up, and all of a sudden they're starting to shrink. And I'm going, Dave, you see that? And he's like, yeah, I see it, man. And it's funny because it's a difficult way to ride a motorcycle, but if you can do it correctly, it's fast, it's good. So yeah, and then back just the corner entry, like I said, it's more just like Dave Z, and I mean, I chase a racetrack a lot throughout the day, which and it's not good because now we have the mission challenge and stuff, and we have, you know, sometimes some qualifying awards, but I don't want to say I don't care about qualifying and I don't care about the semi, but I get paid to win main events. So halfway through a semi, if I'm not leading the thing, maybe I start to go like, all right, like halfway through this main event, I don't need to win right now. Like, what if I did need to win, what would I do? Like, where would I go and how would I look at it? So maybe I just take a third, which isn't good. I'm back row, but I don't care because I'm going to find a way in the main event. I'll get a good start. If I don't, I'll go around you on the outside. So if I do get put in that scenario, right here and now in my semi, how can I think about ahead? So that's kind of been my whole thing as of the last couple of years was like, let's slow things down a little bit. Let's not be as concerned here at the beginning of the day. How am I going to be the best at the 12th minute of our main event? So that's a lot different thinking than before, because I've crashed plenty of times in a semi on lap 1 thinking that I was going to win the main event right then. So I think with age, it's just kind of me picking up on things that have helped me and maybe saved me a few crashes.
Yeah. What about like, so going back a little bit to your kind of younger years, you also did some stuff like mountain biking. Is that you raced like mountain bikes in high school or something like that?
Yeah, I did. I mean, yeah, a lot of cross country mountain biking. I was like a road cyclist. I was no James or Spoley. The power numbers weren't there, but it was
You get there.
it was a fine effort, you know what I mean, for a kid just in high school. But I did some mountain biking. I did a lot of like off road on motorcycles. My brother and I spent our whole winter, trail riding in California just because the opportunity was there, and dabbled a little bit on a few track days at Buttonwillow.
Did you?
So, yeah, I did. Yeah.
Oh, really?
I did. Yeah.
What'd you ride?
A 600.
Ooh.
Yeah, a Honda. I don't know if that's good or bad, but yeah, just Honda 600,
That's
dude.
sweet.
Doug Chandler took me out a few times, and dude, I enjoyed it a lot. But it was one of those deals. I actually, and I guess you could say I was progressing, but they bumped me up a couple classes. Like, I don't know how it works at track days, but I started in a class that I wasn't allowed to pass anywhere but straight away. Then the next session, they're like, hey, you got to go into a class where you're only allowed to pass on the outside through corners. And I don't know I don't know if that's like the B group.
The 5 feet rule.
Whatever, yeah. And then after my second track day, then all of a sudden I was allowed to go out in a session where you could just pass wherever. And I'm like, okay. But then I finally eventually tucked a front, just absolutely rode a bike off. Yeah. And
That'll end your career quick.
well, then I'm like, Doug's like, hey man, so we need a new front wheel for that thing. We need some body work. And I'm like, all right, I'm out of here. Like this isn't, yeah,
It's not just a
lot more expensive
handlebar.
to
yeah,
crash.
it's just not just a slide out on a 450 at the local dirt track where you need a new grip. So yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get to dabble too much in that, but yeah, I just spent a lot of time riding different stuff basically.
So does that like influence you as you got a little bit older in terms of like your riding now, that stuff, mountain biking and just kind of growing up in California, being able to trail ride and all those kinds of different, I feel like most flat track kids that grow up are like flat track from like James, for example, is like flat track from the minute he started. Like that's eat, breathe, sleep, flat track. And that was it. Was that you as well?
No, I mean, it was, I raced flat track. Like that was what we raced. Right. But if there was an opportunity to go ride some moto during the week, or if there was an off weekend of flat track and there was a moto race, or I never really did many off-road races, but Bronson did. We just kind of rode whatever was in front of us. Flat track was always our main priority, but if there was an opportunity to go do something else, we did it. It was like, why not, So I think that has a lot to do with it. I think that for myself, I always say I'd like to be a good motorcycle rider before I'd be a good flat tracker, because I think great motorcycle riders will find a way to be good at flat track. And then so if you can just sharpen your skills on flat track while being a good motorcycle rider, you're going to have success. And that's kind of what I've tried to strive on. I have a lot of fun down here with the guys riding moto, because I'm like, all right, how can I be better here, better there? Not that it's going to really make me any better on the flat track, but maybe a skill set I pick up motoing might be a TT somewhere. So
Rumor has it you got the belt right now.
dude,
The title.
You got the packs.
but
you
at
got
what
the packs
cost? At what cost, dude? There's these
him
kids
and
these
D-Bomb.
dude, these kids are absolutely just chomping, because I'm on the limit sometimes. I'm like, hey guys, let's just go ahead and back her down. Cody Kopp is flying. Dallas
yeah.
Daniels is incredible. Yeah, dude. And I'm starting once again. And I don't know if I don't think I have anything to do with that, but I like to see the fact that these kids that are, I hate saying kids, dude, because I don't feel that old, but they're kids. I like to see that they're riding so well on different disciplines, because like you said, and Jared Mead goes really well, but I think he grew up just eat, sleep, breathe flat track, and he's kind of forced himself to ride moto really well, which he does. But most of flat track has always been that same cut of cloth, just like, hey man, I remember
we survived TTs.
survive
left.
TTs, and let's get to a clay half mile. Let's just do that deal,
I think the sport's fully changed.
It's changing for sure, and I want it to be for the better. I want to see, and I think just growth, it's helping too, because you see Cody Kopoff doing things with off-road guys and moto guys, or
Dana Dirt.
stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, and stuff that guys maybe 15, 20 years ago weren't capable of doing because they didn't ride that stuff. So it's good to see for sure.
you think you could qualify for a pro main? Somebody was on the podcast this morning said
somebody
you could
said
make a
that
gate.
you can make a gate. He said you need a little bit of practice.
That's a big task, dude. I mean, I think that me and Jake Johnson, so the whole moto thing, the speed came from Jake Johnson because that guy is like the most naturally talented, probably maybe flat tracker ever. Like he's so good.
That's so crazy coming from you.
Dude, it's crazy.
I mean, I
like,
think so too, but it's crazy because
he like the stuff that guy can do, and granted, it's only for a lap or two because he runs out of gas. I'll tell him that. But dude, it's ridiculous. So I don't know. I would love to try. Before I had this deal come together, me and Shayna and my manager Scott were talking about me trying to qualify for Loretta's first, just for fun, for shits and gigs. But it was I don't know, man. That's gnarly. Those guys are incredible.
Well, your team owner's got a Supercross team, so you might have a shot.
If I could get I got cone valve on my KTM right now, but I don't know if it's not valve for me right now.
we talked about it filling in for Zvach, but fortunately it's not a KTM.
I was looking for a call up. Yeah, exactly. It's not gonna work out. We can make it work though. So Daytona's not really Supercross, you know.
It's like PAX.
It feels like PAX.
What was the relationship with your parents as far as your racing goes? Like growing up, we kind of talk about this the last few podcasts, but were they kind of set that this was going to be like your path? Like did you go to high school? Did you do like the normal school route, or were you homeschooled?
No, I did do a couple years. My last couple years of high school was independent studies, so I still had to go in and stuff. But no, it wasn't like that at all. Like my dad was aggressive, and when I say aggressive, he's just a loud dude. Like there was no aggression towards myself or Bronson. It was just he's loud. So there was never like, hey, dude, you're gonna race and that's all you're gonna do. Like I said, he played baseball. He had no idea what flat track even was, and he got us once we got into it. And actually, it was my mom that got us into it. So she got us into it, and he just took it and ran with it, and he like did what he had to do to get Bronson and I to the track. And never was he ever aggressive about a heat race or a result or anything like that. It was always like, what can I do for you guys to be better? He never, like, the first thing that, like, everything that came first was school. Like, hey, you got to get good grades if you want to race. So he had like that leverage. And after that, like, if we weren't trying at the track, yeah, he was kind of bummed out. But I've never gone and tried my heart out and had him upset. He's always been like, dude, if you're enjoying it and you're giving it everything you have, I don't care what happens. Like, I'll change 1,000 tires or I'll change 1,000 gears to see you guys enjoy yourself on a motorcycle. So that was pretty fortunate for myself. And my mom was just same thing, just was there really. She was a racetrack mom. So yeah, just fortunate to have like a good set of parents, because I know there's a lot of guys that maybe had a dad that was really aggressive that made it not fun to, like, they aren't even racing anymore. So I didn't have that once. Like, my dad's still here right now. He's actually helping build the Rick Ware Racing flat track box truck right now, just because he's like, man, I just want to see you and Bronson have success and be successful in the sport. So I'm very fortunate.
Now your brother, he was your teammate for a year. Growing up with him, was it hard? Did you guys have competitions with each other? Was it always who's the better brother? Or, I know you guys have been really supportive of each other in the later years, but how was that growing up with having a brother that was, really fast himself and, kind of always pushing you? Or
Yeah, I mean, it was honestly just beneficial. Like, we fought like crazy up until probably 14 or 15 years old. Then you kind of get to the point where I was getting ready to go pro, and then that stuff kind of fizzles out and become, more you get closer, or at least we did, which is weird. Like, we went through this standard brother deal where fist fights in the living room during the week, and then during the afternoon, and then riding at night. So I think it was beneficial because we grew up in California, like we talked about, and we lived in these farm fields where we had a track. So he was really good. I was really good for our area on the amateur stuff, and yeah, I mean, he was just pushing me to be better. And I think that's one benefit we each had, was we got to ride together. And I tell a lot of people that for a while, I think Bronson, like, he had better form than I did. And he was definitely a better off-road / motocross guy for a little while. And I saw that, and it's kind of funny because, like, I think I've maybe gotten a little bit better than he has, but I ride a lot and I put a lot into it. So
I've heard like in the early days you were real lazy about riding, and you were just a gamer.
I was just, dude, I had a lot of Xbox. Like,
Didn't really care.
I mean, so I did, but like, I rode a lot as a kid, and then like into like the 15 to like 17, 18-year-old deal. Like I just didn't ride much. I didn't really do much. I didn't know I was supposed to ride during the week and stuff, and or not supposed to, but I didn't know it'd be beneficial. So I was good when I did, but I just didn't. I was just like, why don't we just hang out instead, you know? like we'll just go to the national, you know, you clean your steel shoes your boots the day before and like see how we do. And
Oh, that's not what you do. I still do that.
dude, my stuff, I actually cleaned this helmet before we came here from Volusia last year.
It's still dirty.
Actually. Whatever. But yeah, so I just I wasn't super. I mean, I love riding, but I just didn't really do a whole lot of it. So
Would you say you're more naturally talented than your brother, and that was part of it? Like he had to work for it a little bit harder, and you were able to just kind of come and go as you wanted.
honestly, I mean, I told a lot of people that when I was younger, but yeah, I think that his style and his ability was probably higher than mine. His ceiling could have, and I'm not. I don't want him to listen and think I'm knocking him. I'm not, but I just think that. Which it's weird. I was always really into like the gym stuff, which doesn't mean that you're gonna have success, but I just feel like there came to a point where I maybe put just a touch more into it, or whatever the level was. I put more into like, how can I be better during the races? And what's funny is he's phenomenal work. Maybe not phenomenal because he's put some stuff together that is absolutely grenaded, but he is way more capable of working on a motorcycle than I am. But when it comes to training, I got him covered by like a long shot. So I think at some point that kind of transitioned to being better for me, and the results started to come. And granted, I had some really good opportunities that he didn't have, which kind of jumpstarts your career. It kind of, when you have opportunity and you make the most of it, then the next thing comes.
It's a snowball.
It's exactly downhill. And like he just not missed out, but just hey, we got one opportunity here. Briar, you're older, you're doing better, you get it. And he maybe didn't get it. And with that comes the opposite effect. Like you start to go downhill because now you're building your own 450s, or you're showing up to the track in the van, and like times were tough back then. He's just building his own bikes and issue after issue and this stuff. But the big thing is the fact that me and Ryan Wells were actually just talking about the other day, like there's only a select few that stuck it out through that stuff. Wells is one of them, you know. He went through some pretty hardship, and now he's with Royal Enfield. And Bronson was, dude, he was riding his own Kawasaki he built out of the back of the van. When Gary Gray actually called me, and when Brad Baker got hurt, and I'm thinking, dude, he's gonna call me to ride the bike. He goes, hey, you got Bronson's number? I'm like, yeah, I do. And he was like, can you send it to me? I'm like, shoot, okay, yeah. So going from riding his own Kawasaki to out of the back of the van to
Didn't he still have the Cowie leathers on?
So he did. Actually, he podiumed with me at Williams Grove when I got my first win, and the duct tape came off. And after the race, and Shayna like ripped him apart. She's like, "Why didn't you cut that out? Like it's just stitched on there. Cut it off." He's like, "I just thought the tape would hold." It didn't hold. And Gary Gary's like, "Hey, Bronson, you gotta like maybe get that off." He's like, "I'm on it, Gary. Yeah, we got a podium though, you know." And he just hold the trophy from the Indian with a Kawasaki. I'm just like, "Oh my god."
That's flat track in a nutshell, pretty much.
Dude, that's a nutshell, dude. Unfortunately, but trying to change that.
How pumped were you to finally like he got that shot, you know, to be your teammate, and you guys were teammates, not to be your teammate, but
dude, it was cool.
Like, and then you guys had a pretty cool year,
dude. Like, and that's one thing I think I maybe took for granted in the moment, but now I look at it and I'm like, dude, and not to be arrogant, but I'm like, we kind of killed it. Like, he did really good, and I was like super proud of him because he got a lot of flack from fellow racers, from outside noise, like why didn't so and so get it? You know, what did Bronson do to actually deserve it? And he's only getting it because he's Briar's brother. And then he goes out and he wins a race. Dude, we had like 4 or 5 1-2s. Like, I know the Hayden brothers had theirs, but like
it's cool.
Like 4 or 5 first and seconds is like kind of a big year. And like I said,
a huge year.
In the moment, like I broke my hand that year, and I'm not looking at anything but the championship. I'm not thinking like he would podium. I'd look over, be like, oh, dude, sick, good job. Back to the grind. Like, what do we need to do for the next one? And then you get out of it and you're like, wait a minute. Like, dude, 4 podiums with your brother. Like, there's a lot of brothers that fizzle out, don't get the opportunity to keep racing. And I'm teammates with him, and we're going 1-2 at certain rounds. Like, he's doing really well. Like, he kind of quiet. Like, he really shut up a lot of the people that were like, hey, you maybe don't deserve the ride. He gets third in the championship behind me and Mees. And he's like 70 points ahead of the dude in fourth. Like, he had a great year. So very cool opportunity that Indian gave us, and it was cooler to see him capitalize on that.
We were talking about that before you came over, but it's I think you're probably the only person in the world that can say they were teammates with their brother and then their wife consecutively.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean it's
That's nuts. That's like a crazy
impressive.
stat.
it's pretty mind blowing actually. Like to think about that, the fact that Shay was on the Indian as well,
On a factory team, nonetheless.
on a
Like,
factory team, and nonetheless, for sure.
It's wild.
Fortunate, yeah. That's like all I can really say is, I mean, and once again, now that you put it that way, I guess I didn't think about that. I thought
Yeah.
about the Bronson thing, and dude, Shayna has done so well in a male dominated sport that, like, I just look at it like, yeah, you should probably get this opportunity for sure because you've done really well and you've definitely at least earned it. And maybe I'm super biased because it's my wife, but I'm like, you earned it, dude. You've done things that men can't do in our sport. So, but now you put it that way, it's like, dude, it's pretty insane to think that. And now we're continuing the deal, you know? We're going to be
Yeah, I
teammates
think we
again.
looked at some stats. Like up until 2021, she had you for more wins.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we looked at that. Or 2020.
you guys are still pretty close.
Yeah,
So
pretty close.
Yeah.
you better
I
check
think
off
we
a few more.
We
need to
looked at-
knock a few out. Just
Yeah.
trying to like little breathing room, you know what I mean?
Oh, she's back.
Dude, she's back in the singles
I know.
too.
She's got a few more left under her, I
She's feisty right now too, I'll tell you. So like, I wouldn't be surprised if you see a few more on her end get knocked out. Dang. All right, I got her on podiums though, at least I think.
I don't know.
We'll check the
We didn't,
stat.
we didn't go that deep
We'll
into
yeah,
it.
we'll check the stats out.
I want to. You talked about your hand and you had a broken wrist. I remember some of that, and I remember you always wearing the brace and stuff like that. People don't realize how serious it was, but it was more or less kind of bad. Like to fight for a championship, arguably against the best guy and we've had in the series in a long time. How was that? And we kind of were talking about it. It's kind of like the Schwantz Rainey deal. Like you guys were like pretty much just racing each other. Like either it was 4th and 5th, like 6th or 7th, or 1st and 2nd. Like it was like you guys were stuck to the track like glue, and it was really only you guys racing against each other. There was everybody else, and everybody's had a great, doing their thing, but kind of that thing was like you guys were head to head.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I know it was only a scaffold, but like first year ever going for the championship, Jake Johnson once again pushing me to the limits on the moto track with a Lit Pro, just lap time nationals, dude. Like I still have the photo of him loading my bike up, and the bars are just absolutely mangled. And the front
Did
end.
you go OTB?
No. Did I? No, I didn't on that one actually. There's this big jump at E-Town in Pennsylvania or New Jersey actually, and it's like a single to a tabletop that's a ways out. They watered the track before I went out, and that thing and it's kind of like you're leaned over heading at it. I think just stepped out at the face, and I'm like, all right, either roll out of her and just absolutely probably arcade like over the bars, step through, or I just try and see what we got. So she stepped out, I stayed in it and just came up short. So I'm thinking I don't know, but I think I broke it when I faced into the next tabletop. But yeah, nonetheless, broke the scaffold. What's funny is what was it? We had Springfield that weekend. I fly out, and was Jake racing? Yeah, 19. He was at Essenson.
Yeah.
So I'm flying. He's on a different flight than I am. I sent him a photo on the plane. The thing is just, my wrist is just all swelled up and purple. And I'm like, what do you think, dude? He goes, I think it'll be fine. And I'm like, okay, cool. So go through that weekend. And I'm like, the weird thing about the scaffold is like, it doesn't really hurt that bad. So like, I'm still trained. I'm still working out, and I do push-ups and stuff. And I'm like, shoot, that thing is like, it's not that bad. So I go through, we get to Springfield, definitely couldn't have rode. Luckily it rains out. I'm like, cool. Like I need a little bit more time to let this thing just loosen up. It's a bad sprain. Go to Kentucky, get through Kentucky, crashed at Kentucky actually. Hit a false neutral going into turn 1 on a mile. It was not good. So crash at Kentucky, everything's all good. I got second that day. Go back to the house. I'm like, Shay, dude, something is not right. Like I should probably get this thing checked out. So going back to the first championship, I'm like going to the doctor's office, and this is just a standard dude, not a sports doctor, especially not one that's in the know for the racing side. So he's like, hey man, got a couple options. I'm like, what happened? He goes, it's broken. You broke your scaffold. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. He's like, we either, we pin it. You got like, what did he say? 8 to 10 weeks with the pin in, then we screw it. 8 to 10 weeks in a cast. Just these crazy, or we cast it for like some ridiculous amount of time. He's like, you don't get it. The scaffold doesn't heal. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I go, hey, can I just let it ride? Like, can I just leave it? He's like, no, absolutely not. Bone dies. Like, I'm like,
That's gotta be scary.
So then I'm like, not 19. How old was I? It was 2019. I'm 23 years old, going for my first championship after not really being relevant. I'm like, dude, it's gone. It's over. Like, I had a great run. This thing's done. And then we kind of get out of there. Shayna's like, oh, we're gonna need a second opinion. He's like, yeah, please do. So then I start just ripping calls to like race doctors, and they're like, dude, let's do it now. Get here tomorrow. You'll be ready for the next one. And I'm like, seriously? Like, we're good? They're like, yeah, dude, let's screw it. Like, let's screw that thing. We'll get you like wrapped up. You'll be fine. Fly out to Twan in California, and he does it, or Dr. Harwood did it. But what's funny is they did it, and I kind of lost connection with them a little bit, and I got involved with Doc Henry out of Texas, Colin Edwards' doctor. He's a legend, dude. It's ridiculous. So, dude, it got to the point where he's sending. I don't even remember. Like, maybe I shouldn't say this on the podcast. So I'm taking these shots in my belly just to get this thing to heal better, and it was legal. I actually called AFT, and I'm like,
I'm taking HGH. Is it legal?
like, is it like back to Liver King, dude? I'm just like, I was like, it was only 10 grand a month, dude. I'm like, I honestly healed overnight.
Dude, is that
So
why
it's
you
fine.
had that jawline?
Dude, it's where it came from. It's where it's originated. Yeah, got that thing rolling.
Just saying.
But yeah, so but that was the thing. Like, I battling the best dude, and like, dude, probably gonna go down as one of the greatest ever. I mean, he is, and he's going after the dude who is the greatest ever. And I'm like, all right, I just destroyed my only hope. We go to Laconia, which is our next race after surgery, like 7 days. And the thing is just, it's a sand pit. I'm like, oh, this is probably pretty good for it. So did fine. And what's funny is when you start riding, adrenaline takes over. And honestly, riding the whole year was fine. I didn't have really many issues. I lost a little bit of mobility, obviously, and if you watch me on the bike, I bend and move and do everything they say not to do at American Super Camp, just because I'm just awkward and lengthy and too tall for racing. But made it through the year, and like I said, no issues on the bike. But I'd get done, and like I'd open it up, and there'd be more spots opening where the incision was. I'm like, all right, that's probably not good. Call Doc Henry's. Oh, dude, little Neosporin, you'll be fine. Okay, cool, let's do it. So
what was your mindset like during that year? Because I remember you were pretty like, you're almost trying to pretend like it didn't exist. Like you were just like,
it was just me
covering it up like it wasn't even there.
And it's funny, like now, if I don't know, maybe I was just young, and I was so like, if I pretend it didn't happen, like if no one else knows, it didn't happen, right? Like, so I just mentally was telling myself it didn't happen. Like, Shay would wrap me up at the beginning of the day. I wouldn't, like, dude, it was brutal sometimes because what was it? Lima was like 175
You wouldn't
degrees.
come out of your top.
I wouldn't, because like
Yeah.
we'd have to wrap the thing so tight, and like it was just a mission to get off. So I would just stay in my top the whole day. That's where the jawline came from, because I'm just sweating bullets. Like, dude, I'd lose 12
He's
pounds
just
a race
cutting.
day.
Dude,
Just-
like he had a Bell made him like 4 or 5 cheek pads per race because he was just cutting through them.
cut-
yeah, dude, they were just like ridiculous. They were just, foam was coming out mid race.
They got a custom helmet show for you.
It was an issue every weekend. I'm like, guys, like, I'm just cutting into the side of the show. It was a mission, but no, I was just like, dude, if it didn't happen, or if I pretend, or if I tell myself it didn't happen, it didn't happen. If no one else knows, it didn't happen. So Shay would wrap me up, and once again, what's funny is I feel like a little bit of a sissy, because the following year, Mees goes ahead and just one-ups me and destroys his leg. Like, he had a huge gap, but still did it way gnarlier than what I did. So yeah, just mindset was, hey, if I don't let anyone else know, it didn't happen. I'm fine. I get wrapped up. I don't feel it when I ride. So it didn't. Like, just do your thing. Just go through the motions. And
Kind of talking about Mies a little bit. You lived with him for a little bit. You trained with him, and then you go and beat him. Talk about how that relationship, I don't know if it's strained or, you know, you guys are still talking and whatnot, but you're racing against the best guy. You can't really train with the best guy. Like, it's kind of tough. And how did you learn a lot from him? And did you use that against him essentially? I mean, that's kind of how evolution works. And
For sure.
You know what I mean? And I think Mies himself wants to race against the best guy, because that guy, you know, we see him at Orlando, dude. He puts 25 tear-offs on, and he goes behind you, and he wants to
Hops
get
in.
eaten.
he wants to see, and he's a big knowledge guy. Like, he needs to know what's going on and where he's at, and like what he needs to fix. So yeah, I mean, yeah, back in, like, dude, we're going back to 2016. So yeah, he's like, hey man, come up to Michigan if you want to and hang out. And I mean, dude, honestly, like, a lot of and some people would say I'm weak-minded on certain sides, and I'm good with that, like, because I feel like I'm strong-minded. So if you think that's fine. I know where I'm at. But one thing he did teach me was like the grit part of things. Like, at least in a race, I'm probably a lot looser off the track for sure. We see that he's a big, like, down to himself, but if there's a dude that's not going to quit, it's going to be him, and he's gnarly about that. So I did learn that. I did learn, like, the discipline, and like, hey dude, if you want to be a champion, you got to dig. And I I portray that I don't enjoy digging and I don't enjoy like the trenches, but I actually really do, especially like on the cycles and stuff. I do enjoy that stuff, and I'm not a Jason Anderson, but I maybe give that same vibe a little bit because I don't just talk about it and do videos of me on the cycle where I'm just like dying, but I do enjoy it. And when it comes down to it, like lap 25 or minute 12, whatever we do, like I'm ready. Like if you want to go to blows, let's go to blows. So he taught me that though. So, and I did use that, but I also did use a little bit more of the being free, being a little bit looser, kind of just applying what he and I mean, I think I would have picked it up, but I do need to give him a lot of credit because he showed me the ropes on the discipline side and the grit because I was young and I didn't know that. And
What about the training side of things? Did he kind of
yeah,
like were you fit before?
no, I wasn't, and I could always and I didn't understand that side at all. I mean, dude, he showed me a lot of that. He showed me like how fit you. And I'm not saying there's a certain fitness level. I promise you right now, he's probably more fit than I am. But I promise you that if we go race, I know where I'm at, and I'll be ready for him for 12 minutes.
Yeah.
I know that. But what I did learn is that you need to have some type of regimen. Like you need to teach your body things, and I've learned that like through him. And I've adjusted. I've tried things. I've tested things. I worked with Alden Baker for a couple years. I've talked to Johnny O'Mara the last few years. So I've learned my body, but he did teach me a lot. And through all this championship rivalry and madness, that kind of gets covered up a little bit because there's a lot of just like headbutting because we're two really good guys that are going.
What were you gonna say?
I don't. We're real good dudes.
You can say
You can say it, man.
I mean,
We're the two dudes that haven't been going for the championship
for the
and-
last 5 years.
for the last 5 years, and it gets chippy, dude. But I think the one thing is, and I've tried to lose respect for him, and I can't. And I think it's similar. Like as mad as I want to be at him, as fired up as he can get me, you can't lose respect for the dudes that you're racing against. At least that's my mentality, and I think that's similar from him. So that's the biggest thing. He taught me a lot. We've been through some insane battles. What's funny is we don't have, for going against each other for 5 years, we don't have that many real intense battles, but we do have a few because it seems like whenever he's on, dude, I can't hang.
Yeah.
And when I'm on, dude, he can't hang.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those deals. So, and if, I don't know.
Do you notice if you guys get around each other on the track, things change?
Oh, do things change? Do things change?
Okay.
I can see it. Dude, on the motor track, they change. Like it's just first, it's nature of athleticism, like, or, competition. It's just human nature. You're just like, hey, I know that on Saturday, we could play ping, and I'm not a competitive dude. He is an extremely competitive dude.
You just have to get up. You have to level.
But it's just how it works. Like I get around him and we could be pulling, who pulls a better espresso? I do. Like he's actually incredible at that, I've heard. So I'm not going to go down that route, but it's just how it is, dude. You guys know how it is.
Yeah.
There's that one guy. And I mean, it's weird because it probably would be similar had I not lived with him and done the training thing and learned as much. We'd still have this deal.
100%.
But because we did, it does make a good story.
What about, obviously you guys both rode for Indian as factory riders, but I think that's kind of like the interesting thing about how your setup was. Like he was a factory rider under his own deal and you were like a true factory rider. What was that like? And obviously I'm sure there's a lot of stories you could probably talk about more so now that you're not with Indian, but what were some of the, what was some of the crazy stuff that was kind of tough to deal with as you were a rider for them?
Yeah, no, I definitely can. One of the hard things, so he was, and more power to him, dude. He's a grinder on every aspect, and the sponsorship side was it. Indian came to him back in 2017 and said, hey, we need you to drop everyone and come on board. He said, dude, I make too much money to drop everyone. Like, I need this. And they said, okay, well, we'll support you with everything that everyone else has. You just keep your whole deal. But with that, he got the free reins to do whatever he wanted with his motors, which I think Howerton and those guys did as well, I think. But I don't know much about that deal. I just know what Jared had because I was staying with him at the time, and I know what Jared had. I knew that he was doing things a little bit differently. So there were times where I definitely get fired up because he's over on this side of the fence, I'm on this side of the fence. If he saw something that my bike had, it felt like he could probably get it because it was through S&S. And if I saw things that and once again, more power to him for he made his bed and it's a pretty nice one sometimes. And I'd be like, man, I'd really love to have a set of Darcy heads he has on that thing that Tolbert has. And not that we could get them ever. And dude, Kenny Tolbert's incredible. His head mechanic, they're so good. That team is always firing, and that was the side that got a little bit irritated. I'm just like, man, I just feel like they got something that I don't, and I just don't know how to get it. And I don't think I can get it, and that's the part where things get frustrating because it seemed like in years like 2018 when I hopped on that thing on the Indian, I'm just all by myself, and all the bikes were a little bit closer. Kenny Tolbert did a phenomenal job. All of a sudden, they have a bike that's quite a bit better than everyone else's Indian, and we're searching, trying to find a way to get close. And granted, 1920, my bike was incredible, but it was the 21-22 deal. Paul Langley was no longer at SNS. It seemed like things got a little bit, just a little bit different, basically. And that was so like your question, it was just a little bit weird because I'm on my side, whether it was Shayna with me, Bronson and Langley left the same year, so I may have been by myself, but it was just like, man, it seems like he's got stuff that I maybe don't. I would like to have it, but I don't think I'm going to be able to get it. And then, like I said, and it's not, he didn't really need anything I had. I didn't really have a whole lot, but it just felt like that. And maybe that's inaccurate. Maybe it's really inaccurate, but it's what it felt like.
It's kind of, I mean, everybody knows Jared's got a mile package that hard. I mean, I rode the 890. That thing's a missile.
Oh,
and I mean, when I tried to pull out on Jared on an Indian restricted, you know, that thing kept pulling. And I was like, okay, hold on. You got a 6 gear in that bad boy or what?
Where's this at?
So, yeah, more credit to them, right? They did their due diligence and they found the horsepower that everyone else lost. Now, Paul Langley, dude's a savage. Like, I think he goes with, you know, Total Wolf. I put them in the same category. One's F1, one's whatever, but the same mentality. I've had small dealings with Paul Langley, and he's very switched on. How was having him, you know, at the helm of SNS during your time, and was he pretty cool to work with, or could you see that killer instinct? And I mean, I've heard some stuff, but I know, just speaking with Paul myself, that he definitely is a killer himself.
Dude, he's a killer. And that was the big thing, was the president of the company was going, what do we need to be better right now? Like, oh, you're winning? Like, why don't we win by more? And like that mentality was like, when everyone in the group has that mentality, success is kind of the only option. And that's what we ran into was, and that, now understand, I'm still with SNS and everything. They're doing a great job on my KTM with Michelle and Dave. But on the Indian side, we were so tapped out on that motorcycle that we really needed to start doing some R&D that we maybe weren't able to get to after Paul left. And Paul has a lot of connections too. So, but dude, even like the killer instinct in Paul Langley, 2020, I think I'd won like 4 races in a row. We're going for the 5th. He shows up with this handlebar switch with 3, like it looked like it was just like a map. It looked like a mapping switch. And he goes, let's throw this on. I'm like, what's it do? He goes, nothing. I go, what do you mean? He goes, let's have it light up when you pull up. That way they all think you have more than what you actually have. He goes, if they see that, they'll lose it. And I'm like, and I'm a superstitious dude. And I'm like, nah, Paul. He's like, no, we're doing it. And I'm like, he goes, just think it. Just think you'll bury him. And I'm like, holy cow, dude. Like, you really want to mess with these guys, huh? And he's like, yeah, we need to do it. And I couldn't. I'm like, we'll put it on. I'll be winning. And that thing will, like, my bike will break. And the thing ran on batteries. It was literally a joke. And he just was ready to, like, how do we make these guys?
So you didn't use it?
Oh, I didn't. I backed out, dude. I that year, I'm not a head games guy. Like, I just do my work and go home. And he was trying to play head games. He was playing head games with me. With it. I said, no. He wasn't ready. That was me. I'm like, don't do it, Paul. Get it off. No. But no, he was a great dude. He's a good guy. And once again, he had that killer instinct. Oh, you need a different head. We don't have the budget. Well, let's find it somewhere. Like, I'll sell something else and we'll pull through. Like, let's get you what you need to do to win this championship. So a lot of respect for Paul.
What about Indian? Like, what was their perspective on those years where you and Jared were battling so hard? Like, obviously as a brand, they love the competition because you guys are both at the front. It's their bikes. But was there any kind of like hierarchy? And like your first meeting, you talked about like you went in as kind of the guy that's supposed to be second. Did you break through that to where they were like, all odds are kind of off, like do what you want kind of deal? Or was there still a little bit of a sense of like Jared was the top dog?
No, there wasn't really at all. Gary Gray did a really good job of that, of not giving me any indication on who they felt like was their guy. Gary actually, even at times, like, it's no secret we were struggling this past season for horsepower. Like the restrictions really hurt us, and he was like, "Hey, let's find a way to get some power. Like we don't have we're maxed out on budget. A little bit of the Langley side." He said, "Let's just try and get Briar back in this thing a little bit," and a lot of respect for that. But on that side, it got tough too because we got to a position where it almost felt like, and once again, Indian motorcycle, best production motorcycle or best purpose-built motorcycle ever. It got to a point where I almost felt they knew they were going to win. You know what I mean? So, and he gave me a lot of credit for giving him as many wins and championships as I have, and we're still great friends. But because they were so successful and the bike was so good, and they have two of the top guys, you almost get the vibe sometimes like, all right, dude, if you don't win, well, guess who's going to win? The dude across the pit, like,
or the 5 privateers.
Or Brandon Robinson's gonna win, or Davis Fisher, or Jared Vanderkoy. So like, and that was never said, but it was like the vibe, and it got a little touchy. I'll be honest and open. Like end of last year when me and Mees got a little bit sporty, it got to a little bit where it was like, hey, like if you don't win, as long as Jared wins, we're good. And then like that gets difficult because, and I get it from a brand standpoint, but for me as a racer. Like Jared's my main, like, I don't see what brand he's on. I see Jared Mees, and I need to beat Jared Mees. So it got a little bit touchy because it kind of felt like, hey, as long as our brand wins, which I totally get, but as a competitor, you guys get it. As a competitor, it's like, no, I don't care. Like I need to win. I don't care what that dude's on. I know it's your brand, but I need to beat him. So that got a little bit weird. And it was never said. That was just a little bit of what I felt. So that got a little different for me, and kind of made me really excited to try something different.
Yeah, I can see how it would be tough.
Do you think that, like, you're kind of going on, tempers started to flare a bit? I mean, the sport was changing in itself. You got restrictions. You got Yamahas and KTMs that are missiles, and stuff's going crazy, right? We got that. I don't know where it was. What's the race? You and me's.
Cedar Lake.
The Cedar Lake. Okay. Let's go to Cedar Lake real quick. I mean, it's kind of middle of the season, right?
No, 2 rounds ago.
2 rounds ago. So it's late. It's
crunch time.
Tempers are flaring. Championships coming close to being out of the reach. You're still in it, but like you got to do some damage.
Yeah, stuff has to happen.
The thing is you guys are both factory Indians. I think from the outside, it looks like you're equal just because you're factory Indian.
Yeah.
And that's how they play it up. But you're 2 separate teams for sure.
Couldn't be further.
It just so happened that you and Mees get into it. You make a pass on Mees. He touches handlebar. He goes down. How did that? I mean, I feel like tempers are flaring and stuff like that. I guess the question is do you think the pass was too much? I mean, you guys are racing for a championship. I mean,
that's a tough question to ask the guy who made the pass.
For sure. No, I get it.
I mean, I'll say it. I don't think it was that bad. I mean,
dude, I think the one thing is, if you like look back, I've been aggressive, but like, I don't know how many guys I've taken down in my career. And dude, at the end of the day, I get paid to win a championship. Whether I don't care who's ahead of me, and we're getting down to crunch time. All I know, I was checked out in a race. We got a production guy that crashes and we get a red flag. I'm fired up. I spin it up off turn 2 and I'm like, dude, I'm going back by. Like I was checking out. I'm going back by. I don't think it was too much. Well, dude, and I'll be honest, like I was bummed. I'm not here to put anyone in any type of harm. Like that's not my MO. I'm not here to take him down. I would have loved to just go up the inside of him take second, and me still lose the championship, and we go on with our way. That is what it is. Would I do the pass again? Absolutely. Like I would have done it to Shayna. Like it just, our mentality is win. Like what? And I joke and I mess around, but when we get the helmet goes down, especially in the main event, like we talked, semi, that's not happening. Heat race, practice, whatever. I'm not doing that. Mission dash, I'm not doing that. Main event, I get paid to win a national, and I'm also in crunch time. It's funny. AFT was pushing bar bang and short track. Well, guess what I did? And yeah, granted, like I said, he went down. Not my style. Like I don't like that. I was disappointed in the outcome of him going down, but I would do it again.
it's crazy as you can kind of see instantly. I mean, the typical Briar Bauman that I known, I mean, maybe it was just kind of you were at your arm's length, you were kind of over it. Then the typical Briar would be livid, you know, probably yelling at somebody, doing something. I didn't quite see that. I kind of see the guy just roll around and like, whatever, you know, kind of deal.
Like afterward, like after I.
Well, just like you went to the back and you didn't really,
dude.
you know,
Just
you're
deflated.
Yeah, kind of feel like
Yeah.
to me, it felt like maybe people were. I don't think anyone's ganging up on you by any means, but it felt you could see that. Were you a bit like over it?
I was done, dude. I can't. Yeah, I was real done. I mean, the weird part was, and a lot of people don't know this, like, so I didn't pull down into like right directly into the mix in the hot box because guess what's gonna happen? I'm gonna get chewed out by either Kenny Tolbert or Bubba Bentley, Jared's other mechanic, or someone's gonna rip my ass. And I'm like, I don't want to go down there. I'm still here to win. Like, yeah, he went down. I'm gonna go back to the front. JD's second. I'm gonna win this thing, and we're still in it. Bang. Nobody says a word to me. I roll up to the line. JD's on pole, and I'm like, wait a minute, something ain't right. So I'm like, so I pull up there, and Bob was like, no, the back, and I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what happened? And I'm going, so we were sitting on turn 4. There's 4 AFT officials conversating between themselves with me, with the whole team. Not one of those guys could roll over and say, hey, for that move, you have to go to the back. I'm like, at what point do one of them say, like, hey, we should maybe mention to Briar when he rolls back over there, he doesn't go to the front anymore. So I roll around. They send me to the back. And as
they go.
Well, no. I rolled back around the racetrack. I go over to find out. I need to talk to someone. So, like, I don't need, in my mind, I don't need to go justify myself to the officials on my move. Like, oh, yeah, I went in too hard. Like, no, I don't need to justify. We're out here racing, and something happened. And as far as I'm concerned, they're not coming talking to me because they're okay. Like, we're just moving forward. So I roll around, and, yeah, it was almost like all the officials ran away. Like, Kevin Crowther, Dave McGrath, B. Smith, all of them were just gone. I'm like, where's everyone at? And I go back around, and I'm just like, I felt bad for Shay because she's like, I was going to get out of the way. She tried to get out of the way from me. And then, yeah, maybe once again, like, people think I'm mentally weak, but there's a lot of backdoor stuff that people don't see what we go through with some of the stuff. And I'm just like, dude, I'm done. I came in and yeah, like, and once again, this just kind of goes back to how much Dave Z and Michelle mean to me. Like, you would think that they'd be livid that I just pulled off in a championship. Like, and granted, championship was getting further and further away, right? Like, Jared had beat me the last couple of races, but it was still totally doable. And Dave Z's like, man, they don't deserve you out there. Like, this series doesn't deserve you. They don't deserve what you do on the racetrack, your passes you make, the way you ride, the fact they didn't even come and talk, like, just support. So I'm like, yeah. And yeah, so I was deflated. Like, deflated is an understatement. And I was just, man, what do I, like, what do we do? And once again, just a simple conversation. Hey, dude. And I would at least give me the opportunity to plead my case. Not that I had a case to plead. Like, I know what I did. I would do it again. You guys claim you want us to race aggressively and give, and I'm not, once again, not trying to take anyone down. I'm just trying to do my job for Indian Motorcycle. And super sticky scenario. It was just
definitely.
real weird scenario. It was, dude, I went into the truck, and dude, I went to the AFT truck after 40 minutes when they finally made it back to the truck, and I just lost it. I'm like, come on, guys. Like, we're trying to put on a show for you, and not that part of things, but just show, like, have a little bit of respect towards your racers. Like, the top guys, have equal respect for everyone, but like,
Yeah.
like,
Make the call.
Yeah, we talk on a personal, like, we talk regularly. Like, why not come over and just say, hey, you're out.
This is the violation. Job done.
Don't hide.
And that's the end of the day. I mean, like, if violation is a violation, whatever it is, and
Yep.
if it happens, it happens. Is racing. So
Yeah.
Do you think flat track has gotten to be? I mean, I think every series right now, like, you watch F1 and there's like a ton of stupid penalties, and that MotoGP is starting to get really bad with it. I think World Superbike a little bit seems to be a little bit aggressive, but do you think flat track's gone a little bit too much that way? Like, is it too friendly? Because obviously, like it's been a topic on some other podcasts in Supercross. Like, Feld will penalize these guys for cleaning each other out, and then they'll blast it across the big screen
exactly,
on social media for like weeks and weeks and weeks after. What's your...
I feel like we're definitely getting into a scenario where once like
It's tough because there's a lot of bad injuries too, so it's kind of like
you don't want to
see both sides.
You don't want to see anyone get hurt, but you also, we get paid to do this, you know. And
there's daylight, you're supposed to take it.
And the thing is
within
I'm not
reason.
And I'm not taking that on a mile.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
I know my capabilities. I know Jared Meese's capabilities. I know, like, I weigh out scenarios, even though it's in real time. Like, I think that some of the decisions being made, how do I word this? Man, I think that they're definitely getting a little bit soft on certain things. And once again, you're talking about the injuries. We don't want any of that, but at least give us some consistency as well. So, like, on top of it being, I guess I don't even care about the softness now that I think about it. Just give us some consistency. Like, I've seen a move like that done before and there not be any repercussions. And then all of a sudden I get that and I get sent to the back in a championship scenario. So I do. I mean, dude, I ran into JD Beach before the main before, and it was just one of the deals. Like, the racetrack only presented, or the only passes you were presented on that racetrack were aggressive ones. Like, there was no, like, unless someone messed up, which we're dealing with the top dudes, dude. Like, JD Beach doesn't normally hear that voice crack. 27. JD Beach doesn't normally mess up, and Jared Meads doesn't mess up. Like, so
you kind of have to force it,
like,
man.
You gotta either, like,
you follow them around and there's no passes, or you go and try to win the race.
Yep, exactly. So it just
do you think Jared would make that pass on you? 100%.
Dude, same thing I said. He would make it on Nicole.
Yep.
So it just...
Did you guys have any conversation after that about it?
He was cool, which, granted, he watched me... Nothing, and he was super cool. He said, "Hey, dude, is what it is." I was bummed because I'll be honest with you, things have been super chippy for the last couple of years, and it seemed like him and I had kind of gotten over a little bit of a hump. And not that we went backwards by any means, but I could tell that his guys, like, were bummed, and which I mean, it is what it is. I'm there to win races, but it is to a certain. I don't want to lose that respect, and I want, like, he needs to know I'll do it again. But without intention of him going down, like, we race aggressive, dude. It's championship.
I think the hardest thing as well is you guys are on the best bikes, and you're technically factory team, like, your teammates, but it's like you're not teammates.
Exactly. No, for sure. So yeah, that's it. You know, I'm going.
Like, if you were racing somebody else, not on an Indian or a different team, it probably wouldn't be perceived as gnarly.
It was awesome too, because, like, that all goes down. I'm just, like, go and lose my mind with AFT, and then I walk into my pit. I sit down. I'm just staring at, like, Kenny Tort, Bubba Van. It's like I'm 12 feet away. Like, how was that? Good race. You know what I mean? It's so it just it was just, dude, what a bad scenario. But once again, I get back. My big thing is, hey, how do we make the racetracks better? Like, to where, dude, I'll roll someone on the outside. We know that. If I have the opportunity, I'll freaking go for it. Like, I tried it at Texas, and you didn't ride Texas this year, but, dude, there was no passing on the outside, and I tried it. Like, I'll do it, but let's figure out a way to get the racetracks to be a little bit more sporty. Like, I don't know, let's do something. Yeah. Just give us opportunity.
Seems to be the hard part for flat track we talked about with Johnny, but it's just the consistency factor of, like, the track prep and weather. I mean, you can't control weather. It's not like road racing where we can ride anytime. It's got to be really tough as a promoter to figure out how to work around all that. So it is tough. It's not your first run-in with dealing with penalties and stuff like that. So your first win in 2011, you actually got DQ'd.
Oh, yeah, dude.
I was waiting for that.
Where does this one go?
You guys did some digging, dude. Holy cow.
Yeah. So what happened with that? Because I didn't know that either. I was like, I was going through the archives.
Dude, that's pretty good. That one got me off guard. So my dad is a bit of he's a scientist, right? Like, he's a big chemical guy. Just kidding. He's a carpenter. Yeah. So what's funny is, that was 2011. I'm 16 years old. We go back, and Sean Russell lets us stay in Illinois, centrally located. We're like, hey, we're going back here to the Midwest, East Coast. Let's take every bike we got. Let's take every can of fuel we got. Let's go race and do non-national events. And we did, dude. We raced like 3 or 4 times a week, it seemed like, during the middle of the summer, which was awesome. So midday at Peoria TT, my mechanic at the time, Ronnie Brown, says, hey, man, go grab another can of fuel out of the trailer. So my dad they're all blue, right? They're blue 5-gallon cans. Why not just grab one of them? So he grabbed one, which I would have probably made the same mistake. Comes back and well, they must not have checked fuel, or I don't know when the fuel went in, but yeah, so
It went in.
it went in the motorcycle. And what's funny is, of course, later on, like people are like, dude, I smelled someone open up a can of fuel. I could smell it. I knew something was wrong. But so what was funny was
You know what fuel was?
U4.4.
Oh,
I think it was before.
You were never getting away.
No,
They were.
Your people's eyes are burning behind
it's
you.
so bad it fried everyone else's tests. Like everyone else got popped, but I was just the only one that had it in. But yeah, so what was worse was
It was a spec fuel back then, even.
Yeah,
Is that what it was?
yeah.
Sunoco, wasn't it? Something like that.
I want to say like
Probably.
112. It was
Yeah.
Sunoco,
Yeah.
112, something like that. And what was better was, so Ronnie Brown calls me over to tech, and it's Dale Jones. He's like, hey man, can you go? Ronnie's fighting it to the death. He's like, dude, nothing's wrong. And Ronnie didn't put the fuel in. So he's fighting. He's like, dude, something's wrong with your test. It's clear. Test it again. Like, figure it out. So
Test it again.
he's like, go get the can of fuel. We'll test the can of fuel. So I run over, I grab the can, I look at the side of it. I'm like, oh no. I come walking back. I'm like, hey, Ronnie. And I, like, you know how you rotate your hand with the handle and it just shows the side. He goes, don't test the fuel. Just let's go. And we just walk back to the pit, dude. Disqualified. I'm like, no
man.
way. And my dad felt this big, man. He was so bummed, and 100, like honestly, 100% unintentional. Just one of
Yeah.
those scenarios that, dude, I was bummed 'cause that was my first, and I had issues that day with the bike, so I had to go to an LCQ, make it into the main. I was third row, came from third row. One was like, awesome story, right? And then a few of the guys in the class were like, dude, I knew your bike was running pretty good when it came. I'm like, golly, guys, cut me some slack.
Right.
But no, that was funny. Now it's funny. In the
Yeah,
moment,
now
it
it's
was
funny.
big
Yeah.
bummer at the time.
What would you compare the decisions being made then versus now? I mean, I think, like I watched flat track from basically watching James. Like 2012 was when I was young road racing, and he was road racing with me. We were teammates, but we were kind of hanging around the paddock, and it was much different than it is now. What kind of throughout that time period from when you were 16 to this period, like, is it all bad? Obviously there's been some big changes. You were able to make a living, which I don't think you would have been able to do back then. What do you see as the sport? How has it evolved?
It's changed a lot. Like, we talk about it, me and Shayna, often, especially during the stressful times. We're like, dude, this is so different now in a better way, right? Because you're going, all right, I'm stressing because I'm trying to put together this team with someone that's willing to pay for it. Back then, you were just kind of happy-go-lucky chasing that G-bar we joked about. You're just sneaker in the main event. You make $1,000 from, like, I think 11th place paid like $1,100, or no, $1,800, and 18th place paid $1,100. So you're like,
Whatever.
Like, if I get 11th or 18th, I'm pretty dialed for a little
Yeah.
while. Like $1,000 ain't with no, like, hardly any bills for me, at least at the time, because I'm 16 or whatever. But
You fill the tank up a few times.
yeah, you get to the next round. That's all you care about. As far as the thing is I think we mature, though. We go through the phases where you are going through that spot in life where you're going, okay, I make $1,000 to go to the next round.
Sick. Yeah, I'm rich.
I'm basically killing it. Yeah. So then all of a sudden you buy a truck and you now have a bill, and you get to a position where, fortunately, we're fortunate to get to the point of having the stress, because at one time it's exactly what you wanted. So that's the biggest thing is on our behalf. The series behalf, we went through a real big phase of, like, that 2012 to 16. It was kind of no man's land. Like, that $1,000, there wasn't that much difference from that to the top 3 or 4 guys. It seemed like, yeah, it was a huge gap to try and bridge, like, to get to. But how much were you really going to be making, or what was the opportunity up there? Because we're kind of just bouncing around motorcycles, riding different stuff. And then along came Indian in 17, and that kind of opened the door to a lot of contingencies, a lot of possibility of sponsorships. And just
Did Indian come before the XG?
no, XG came in 16. I
So,
remember.
so some money came in before some XG money came in.
It was real light. So Davis Fisher rode the XG. I was fighting for that hard. I actually thought I had it too, which is funny. I thought I had that opportunity in 2016, and then I almost got it in 17. But 15 going to 16, I thought that I was going to get to ride the XG, and that kind of fell through. It never got real serious, but I thought there was a possibility because I actually had a pretty good year in 15. So there was a little bit of money. Davis got a paid ride on top of Brad, and but other than those two, there weren't that many. Like, Mees kind of earned his living on his own, which he did really well, and there's a couple others. But 17 to 22, more like 17 to 20, a little bit of 21, it was really on the way up, right? And then recently has been kind of plateaued, and we have a little, we have some spikes right now that we're trying to work out. But Indian not being at the level they are is definitely a bummer. But kudos to them for continuing, like guys like Brandon and Jared and all those guys that can make some money on the contingencies, and just the opportunity to ride a bike that is competitive is a big deal. So it's peaks and valleys, but I still think we're in a good spot, and ideally we.
What
can
about
keep
like
growing.
the rules, decisions, and things like that? They've evolved a lot since then. I know that's a can of worms, but
It is for sure.
We definitely want to hear your take on it, because you kind of got affected probably the most by it in the last couple of years.
Yeah, it was weird because I never even. What's funny is I was so out of the loop in 16 and 15 and stuff. I didn't even realize they did have restrictors in the Harley Davidson, the XR. Like I didn't even know that. I'm just riding. Like that's how out of the loop I was. And then I don't remember. Well, maybe it wasn't 16. Maybe it was like 13, 14. They had restrictors, and they eventually pulled them. I didn't even know that. I'm like, they're restricted? Like, what do you mean? So then we went through that, and we get to Jared, like Kenny Tolbert once again, building incredible XRs, but still weren't enough to keep up with Brian's Cowie. And along came the Indian, and that thing, like I said, was phenomenal up until it's still phenomenal, but it obviously was too good for a little while, and they had to balance performance, I guess they would call it. Tough, like dude, throwing a restrictor plate in that thing.
Do you think they would still be paying what they would pay if they didn't do anything? Like, do you think they would just fizzle out by themselves? Like, do you think Indian was on its way out, whether they say they didn't do a single thing and they just kept pounding? 10 turned into a spec class, essentially, but do you think they would still have a factory team and pay, or you think they were on their way out?
I mean, this is all...
I mean, speculation. I don't know if you know.
No, I mean... And this is all being said after the restrictions and stuff were in place. But, I mean, I did have conversations where they're telling me, like, dude, we want to stay. We want to give you the same thing you have now. We can't race a motorcycle that we have no control over anymore. It doesn't entice us. We want to be able to, and it's not like you do that much of the Indian. Like I played with Rev Limiter on the race day, which usually I didn't. I just left it a couple clicks here and there. So they and like I said,
I think it's very rare in any sport, in any like motorsports, that you have a bike. I mean, there's, like that motorcycle that changes the sport. I mean, in MotoGP and whatever, and I mean, very few times. I mean, the XR lasted a gadillion years.
Yeah.
No,
how much of it do you think is influenced by the bagger thing?
A lot.
Yeah.
So that was the tough part, was along with these restrictions coming, there's a series that's, doing really well with a motorcycle that looks like really similar to a motorcycle that's on the street. And a lot. So a lot of conversations where it's like, hey,
you want to get on a bagger?
I had a few of them. I had an opportunity to test one, and I backed out and got a little nervous, but I should have done it, right? I mean, but no, it did have a lot to do with that, because not only are we getting kind of
over the hill,
getting pushed around over here, we got a spot over here where it's like really welcoming. So like, man, why don't we head over to this side where it's like everything's beneficial, numbers are really good. We're winning. They're letting us do kind of what we want to do. As far as, and it's all speculation for me on the bagger side, because I don't know what the rules are or anything like that, but a very welcoming opportunity over there for them. So kind of the perfect storm came about for them to kind of,
Yeah.
Would you try it? Like
the bagger? Oh,
like,
I would try it. It was weird. I got offered in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
yeah, you're focused.
and I'm not afraid to get Sendy either. Like,
I know.
Exactly. So like, what if I just rumor has it a bagger hasn't been high-sided yet, but what happens if BB3 does?
Oh, no. I think Wyman did it.
Wyman did a big one last year.
Was it in the rain?
No.
It was in the dry.
Oh, yeah.
Brainerd,
Brainerd, evil.
Big
second
We
one.
didn't think, like, up until that point, we're like,
You can't high-side
we're
them.
like, dude, the line,
They're too heavy.
you can walk a mile past it and you just override the thing.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Hey, you can high side these things.
Oh no. Everyone starts looking around like, oh man. Yeah, so I just was like, man, what if I just crash? Like, and then on top of it, a lot of money there. I'm like, what if I just crash like this thing, just ride it off? And yeah, so I just didn't do it, but I would try one.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, dude, I'm like we talked about earlier, I'm a motorcycle rider first and a flat track racer second. So I would give it a go if opportunity present itself.
Just kind of a little bit back on the take on the rules thing and stuff like that with AFT. What what do you think that they need to change? I know you said consistency as far as the calls, like race direction wise, but what about from the series level? Do you think there's some glaring things in your opinion? I know there's been a lot of, like, just watching from an outsider's perspective, because I'm not in the paddock and whatnot, there's been a lot of, I don't want to say gossip, but things going around and a lot of opinions as always. What's kind of yours from somebody that's at the top of the sport?
Yeah, man. I mean, I'll be honest. I'm not super educated in that area, so I try and I wouldn't ask Gene Crouch how I should ride my motorcycle. I just know that my job is to win, so like I have to do that to the best of my ability. And my response to them is, a lot of times when we have issues and scenarios that aren't good for our image, I say, dude, like, I work 7 days a week to be the best I can for your series. And I'm not saying that he's not, and Gene and I are great friends, but I'm just saying, like, let's just all make sure we give 100% all the time. And that's no diss to anyone. So for me to dig into the scenarios that they have in front of them, I can't say, I don't feel comfortable. The thing I continue to preach on my end, I don't like digging into the rules. I feel like not once did I mention about the restrictor plate. I just, did my thing. I went to Kentucky. Yeah, I made like one video of my bike getting smoked, but to be fair,
it went viral, got 12 million hits.
Yeah, like it had Ricky Bobby in it. But to be fair, that was an out. My team will take it on the chin. I had the slowest Indian there. It wasn't like it was the restrictor plate that made my bike the slowest one. It should have been the best. But I didn't say one thing. Like, we're trying to grow everything to the best of our ability, and what I continue to preach is like, hey, just give me a good racetrack. Give all of us a good racetrack. We're incredible motorcycle riders. So I really, really try and hone in on my lane. Like, my lane is to be a great motorcycle rider. I don't do a great job on social media, but I attempt to. I try and be a good role model to younger kids. And I do things that probably aren't great, but I let them kind of do their thing. If they ask my opinion, I give it to them. If they don't, I stay to myself, and we just do our thing. So it's hard for me to get too in depth on that, because like I said, I really just try and stay in my lane and that behalf. And I'll be honest, James and I will have small chat and like, maybe we should try this, but I never go to the series and say, hey man, this is what we need to do.
Yeah.
I just don't feel comfortable, because just like on a race day, just like when I crash somewhere, or I don't have a perfect race, maybe in their eyes, when they, botch a call, or, track is garbage or whatever, not everyone's gonna be perfect all the time. Yeah, which we had a lot of garbage racetracks, but
we talked about that as well.
So I just, on that side, I really just try and just hone
it's
in.
a very political answer. I can appreciate that.
No, and if I was more educated, I would.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think
no,
a lot
it's
about
fair. I think a lot of people don't have room to talk, and that's kind of the thing. That's my perspective. Is like, it's like exactly what you said is a perfect answer to everyone that always seems to have these opinions on stuff. Whether it's Moto America, MotoGP, flat track, like, it's just you're not the ones running the series. So it's hard to say.
The thing is like, dude, I want to make millions. I want everyone in the series to make millions. I want this thing to prosper and us be great. But then if someone said, okay, cool, go up and do what Gene's doing, or do what, Ashley Robinson's doing, and the guys that actually make the series go round, I'd be like, dude, I can't. But I will. Oh yeah. So I just don't feel right being like, oh, you guys need to do this.
Yeah.
When I don't know what I would do. So like, I know, granted, they're getting paid to make it work, and I get paid to win. So like, we each have our thing, but it just isn't really my spot to call them and ream them out.
No, that's cool. I mean, I dig that. That's a pretty cool. As far as like there's a lot of races. What do you got? 17 this year? I don't know. Either.
Dude, I haven't even looked. Dude, I'll be honest. Like, everything's been such a.
He just found out he's racing.
It's been such a hectic. Like, the bike will be here like Monday, dude. Like,
Dude, the press race is out.
It is.
But I think there's 17. I don't know.
There's
usually between
17.
like 15
I'm
and
joking.
18 in the
There
last.
is 17 rounds.
Now, do you think, like, I feel for dirt track like it's a lot. Do you think less races at, like, you got Red Mile, you got some really, really cool facilities and tracks that produce always great racing, Springfield Mile, there's a lot. Do you kind of think maybe we should tone down on the number and kind of make like these ones bigger and try to dig everybody? Or do you like going to all of these places? I mean, there's so much history at so many tracks, Lima, Peoria, where it brings out big crowds, but I don't know if, and this may be something not in your wheelhouse like you talked about, but I always wonder, and it's kind of open, but stacking down some of the ones that were like, man, like that's not a good track we go to. And I hate saying that, but smaller events or smaller number of events, but like more money poured into them?
Yeah, dude, that's a really good question. See, I feel like we're in a position now that we should at this point in time be able to have a checklist and say, hey, I'm going out to South Dakota, or I'm going to New York City to check out Meadowlands. Does the racetrack meet this criteria? Can we make the racetrack great? We need to have some type of checklist. So in my opinion, and this is obviously just us, talking, I think that we, at this point in time, we've been racing. How long has flat track racing been going?
Yeah.
How do we not have a checklist that we go to, and we should be able to find 17 rounds that meet our criteria. We've raced for, I could name 17 great racetracks from over years past, and I get that we need to get to new venues, but let's get somewhere and check it out and go, all right, yeah, this ain't it. Don't go, okay, well, we're in a highly populated area. Let's just kind of see what happens. Like, we don't need to do that. It looks better to us to be on a dirt track that is kind of in the middle of nowhere, and the racing is phenomenal. This is, once again, my opinion. The racing is phenomenal. Track's great. We get great clips, which helps, the TV coverage. We're 3 wide rather than, although we're just outside New York City, but it's a notch groove that they didn't realize the dirt was synthetic, or, hey, they only got 1 water truck. We missed that memo. We need to be
Lock in on that.
Lock in on hey, how do we go to a racetrack and decide if this thing is exactly what we need to happen? Like, what,
Do you just keep going? Do you think, MotoGP is 22 rounds, I think, or 23, 22?
Yeah, some stupid amount.
It's crazy. I mean, 17 is it's not that far away.
Yeah.
Do you think it's too many? Is what I mean for.
I don't.
Okay.
I
You're
don't.
cool with
I'm
racing.
cool.
I'm
17.
cool. No, I'm cool with 17 rounds.
Okay. So you like racing. You're in.
I'm in it.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, I'll be honest, like the year that, what was it? COVID year. We did 14 rounds. Like, that seemed, but I did love the double.
I loved it.
I love the doubleheader, but I felt like with the racetracks, for some reason, on the doubleheader, each day we got a different racetrack at the same facility for some reason. I don't know if it's because we rode there the night before. I did enjoy that. But what I'd really look forward to this year is we start, next week, but we end the first weekend of September.
Yeah.
So, let's keep the people, entertained. Let's
Yeah.
keep them enthused, because, dude, when MotoGP goes on summer break, I'll be locked in. I'll lose interest. And when we start here in Daytona and we have a month off, a month and a half, dude, how are we supposed to stay locked in?
Yeah.
It's not like we have a huge platform as it is. If we grab a new guy, they're going to fizzle out after oh, wait, we got a couple weeks. I got 3 or 4 weeks. I got to wait. I forget about it, you know? So I'm cool with the racing. I'm excited about this year's schedule. I'll be honest. I like the fact that granted, we are real behind, but other than that, I'm excited that we're going to get rolling. We're going to start knocking them out. I need to look at the schedule. I haven't really looked super in depth. I don't know how big of a break we have at any point in time. But I don't even know what the 3rd round is. But we're just I know there's a few of them. But I am excited to just get them knocked out.
Shayna's got to put your calendar together still.
Dude, I'll be honest. She's been team manager recently. But she's got most of the stuff locked in. That's outside my pay grade. Talk about spoiled recently. So I've been with Indian last 4 years. The other day I wake up, I'm like, Shay, who signs me up? She goes, I did. Huh. All right. Okay. Has been Dean Young for the last 4 years.
You've been living the Gucci.
I'm a spoiled.
He's been living the
spoiled
Gucci
brat, dude.
Petrucci life.
It hit me right in the face. I'm like, dude, I am absolutely spoiled.
That's funny. Now, so that kind of leads us to a little bit of a sidestep, but you grew up in California. You moved to Pennsylvania to be with Shayna. Obviously, I think a lot of people probably don't really know how you guys ended up even together. How did that happen?
Yeah, just the racing thing, dude. We met on the road, Sacramento Mile. We battled it out.
First date was on the track.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Knoxville was before that.
No, Sacramento was first. Knoxville was later that year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
Okay, cool.
we battled there, and then just kind of got to know each other a little bit throughout the paddock, and just we were racing the same class. And then we go to Knoxville was kind of cool because we battled for a win, and she got her first female to ever win in the sport. So that kind of jump started things because I let her have that one. So
we have that in common because Elena Myers beat me in road racing for the first ever one. So
really?
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I remember that actually.
Yeah.
I remember that. Wasn't that nothing against Elena? Wasn't that one a little bit funky? There was only a couple.
No,
or was it? It was straight up.
She fully just
Okay,
had way
cool.
more power.
I
than
wasn't
me.
okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't positive.
She smoked me
She
pretty much
smoked-
on the banks at Daytona.
Okay. Yeah. Shay beat me there, and that kind of jump started things. Like I said, I let her win. I knew it'd be great for the sport, so just let her have that one. So we just really tried to grow the sport. yeah, just kind of, yeah, did that. And then, you know how it is. Like, life goes on, and all of a sudden it seems like we're dating. I'm spending a lot of time in Pennsylvania, which I'd never even been there before. And yeah, here we are 10 years later, 12, 11 years later, we're married, 2 dogs.
That's crazy.
So
You were pretty young.
I was real young. Yeah, I was, and like, not a lot of people know this, and Shay probably won't appreciate me sharing it, but like there's a bit of an age gap there, but it's all good.
She's a little bit of a cougar.
She's a little bit of a cougar, yeah.
Cradle robber, actually.
Exactly. Yeah, I was a young gun.
She
But
got you while you were young.
she did, yeah.
What is it like dating? I mean, I can't say not anybody, because there's some other people that have dated racers, but what is it like dating somebody while you're both actively racing?
And at the top of the sport.
And at the
Yeah,
top,
so
yeah.
that's the thing
That's like-
that's the thing that's dicey, right?
It's
So
not like she's not just a hobby for her. She's like,
No,
I think she's the most winning singles rider still.
I'm pretty positive she still is. Like, dude, it's been weird for me because she, like, most of my career, I spent like really, really low. Like, and I'm doing well, but like, she's winning, and she's a female beating dudes. Like, she deserves the credit she's getting, but for me, I'm going, holy cow! Like, I don't know if I could ever match what she's doing, which I'm fine with. Like, I'm supportive. So it's funny because it just, as of the last couple of years, I kind of have, I don't want to say I've matched her by any means, but the championships kind of brought me up a little
Tables
bit.
have turned.
And I let her know. I say, hey, remember those like 8-9 years where I'm just kind of like carrying your bag? I said, that's what I did. I made the meme. I said, look at me. I'm the captain now. So what I say there,
Who's carrying the boats?
I say, I write the checks and I make the money. That's what I told her. I said, you don't talk to me that way. No, it's funny because man, I hope we get back to this year, her having a lot of success, and because I do think that she got, and she doesn't ask for any of the attention. She just is successful on a motorcycle, and it comes with it. Like, I really don't think she understands that she's a female. Like, when you look back, if you take a step back and really look at that, you're like, holy cow, that's kind of gnarly to be consistent. Like, almost won a championship in the singles class, like a lot of, obviously most winning. That doesn't even make sense to me. So she's really good. So both of us to be really good. It's not like either she's really good or I'm really good, or, you know, we kind of just like, I'm doing well. Hey, yeah, just keep going. You're doing fine. It's like, dude, on certain weekends, we're both kind of, she fast qualified. And we're talking her on the single, me on the twin. She fast qualifies, I fast qualify. I'm like, it's kind of gnarly. And then, you know, it's funny because there's been pressure, and I blame her because we never won a race together. Like, she never won a singles race. Like, we have, like, probably, I'm not even lying, 4 or 5. She gets second, I get second. Or she gets third, I get third. Or she'll win, and I'm like, and it actually has crossed my mind at a certain point where it got to the point because she started bringing it up. Like, she's like, hey, if I win, like, you need to win. Well, then all of a sudden she busts out a couple wins, and I'm like, dude, I don't know if I'm going, I'm not going to win now because she won. Like, I can't. Like, it's just how it works. So, no, it's a very cool opportunity that, once again, I do a bad job of taking things in the moment because as racers, we just look ahead so much. Every time you're looking, it's like, all right, where do we have to be on what date? So I miss a lot of that, and I have to remind myself to take it, like, go back to 30,000 feet as someone who didn't have that opportunity to have a wife who's capable of winning nationals against, like, even
The best dudes.
Like, dude, I could line up against her on a 450 at a clay half mile, and I don't know if I'm gonna win, and I feel like I can win on twin. So it's a pretty cool opportunity, and the fact that it fell in that way, and, you know, we started dating at a young age, and now we're still having success together is pretty cool.
That's awesome. What about like, as far as the dynamic of, I don't know how to put this, like, who's the breadwinner? Like, how do you figure that out? Because obviously, like,
The breadwinner.
you know,
We file together, man. We're not gonna say we file together.
who wears the pants? Like, who's it sounds like she's
James-
kind of the boss.
Go ahead,
you know,
and
but
go
I
ahead and
don't
look at
know.
James on that one. Dude,
You're lucky
geez
she's not
Louise.
here.
Golly.
Where is she?
No, she is. Where's she at?
She's listening. He's had the phone on this whole time.
Yeah.
Dude, she's like, Nikki's out there. She just asked. the question got asked. Want me to tell him? Want me to tell him?
The phone
Yeah,
just
exactly.
rang.
She comes walking in. What? From the rafters. No, I'll put it out there, dude. She wears the pants. But with I give her a lot of credit. She, especially this off season, but she's always kind of, I'll be honest, like, she takes care of me. I really hone in on the racing, and and she basically makes sure I'm at the track, if that makes sense, on top of herself winning and racing. So, dude, this year, and I don't want to say I'm useless because I'm a great motorcycle racer, I feel like, but in the scenario we were put in this off season and then leading into trying to build a race team within a month, I'm watching her, like, I couldn't keep the structure she does to get this stuff to function, to get the ball rolling, for us to get, even if it was on me, we wouldn't be in Daytona. And I'm aware of that. So I tell her, like, I don't tell her you're allowed, you get to wear the pants, but like, dude, she does a lot and I give her a lot of credit. I'm probably biased and I sound like the standard husband or whatever, but dude, she does a really good job. I mean, her plate has never been more full. And I've cracked. I'm not even doing any of this stuff. I'm just trying to be there. Like, if she like needs me to go do something around like the house, like, hey, go wash the bikes because we just rode. And she, you know, I always do that anyway. But just the little things I can do to make it while she's like designing the wrap for the truck or helping design the emails back and forth, and then taking care of my mom's estate with my dad. Just stuff like that would overwhelm me and shut me down. So she's definitely the breadwinner. She gets to wear the pants, and we all talk about having a good backbone, a good woman, and you don't really realize that until you're at a real low spot in your life. And we've thought we've been in low positions before, but nothing's really been as low as this off season was. Not so much the racing thing. Obviously, not having a ride is a low, but we still appreciate what we've done and what we have. But just different stuff, and the way she just takes it on the chin and just keeps moving forward. So I'll give her the she has the pants. They're hers.
Nice. What about as far as like a teammate goes? Would you prefer having her as your teammate or your brother? Ooh. Since you've been in that position before.
She's gonna take this one well. I can already tell. It's honestly like.
Like, does she have to remind you to like get your helmet on before you go out?
No. Hey, honestly, probably Bronson. She's not gonna take that one well. It's just, and I don't want to say I care less about Bronson, but essentially I care less. Like
he can do his own thing.
You're happy to beat up on him.
I'm fine with beating up on him. I catch myself caring more about how do we make this thing better for you? You know, what do we need to do? What are you feeling? I don't know. Well, don't get like all of a sudden I'm playing rider coach. Like, don't get frustrated. Like, let's think about this. Obviously everything's great when things are going well, but it's when things are tough and you're like, I can't turn the bike. And even this is even on the 450. This isn't even last year because, you know, we've never been teammates 450 to twin, but even not being teammates, but being married, I'm like, well, don't get frustrated on the fact that, you know, you took a third in the semi. So it's more like I care less. Like, I want to see Bronson succeed, but I'm not like, hey, I'm going home with Bronson. So
yeah,
mentally on me, Bronson's easier because I want to see Shay succeed and like win right now. And I put a lot more eggs in that basket than I do Bronson because he's good at taking care of all that on his own.
Yeah. What about taking that home with you? Like, how hard is that having your significant other? Like, you have a shit day, she has a shit day, you have a shit week after that. Like,
it can be brutal. I don't know. It's funny because Shayna doesn't come across as a real competitive individual. I don't know. Maybe does she, James?
Oh yeah.
Do you think she's competitive? Like when you're not with her at the track? Like just like cruising around.
You probably wouldn't.
You wouldn't.
I guess that's fair.
I guess it's hard for me because I knew her before.
Yeah, you did exactly. But so from my end, she is real competitive and she puts a lot of weight on herself. So even harder than us both having shit days because you can be like, hey, dude, you sucked. Yeah, you sucked. And you give each other nugs. But like when I win and she has a shit day and I'm like walking on eggshells because I'm like, so what went wrong? And I'm like, did you see me on the high line? They're going to pass me these. I checked out. And she's like, shut up. And I'm like, so that's the tough. It's a balancing act that I don't think a lot of people understand. And I think the first couple of years were a lot tougher because it was just, I don't know. I think maturity changes a lot of things for a lot of us. And we've gotten more mature and we've tried to like not separate, but like rather than just being down, how do we build? Like what did you learn? Like, okay, so you took 12th or shoot, you missed the main. Like, where did it go wrong? So I think we've kind of figured out a way to pick things apart more than argue on the way home because we each had a bad day or I won and she had a bad day or vice versa. So it's been more of lately it's been more of like, man, like what can we do? So it was tough. It was tough at first. Like there was some times where I'm like, I didn't talk to her for a couple of days because I'm just like, I don't want
Don't
to
wanna-
say
don't
you
wanna
wanna
poke the bear.
Yeah, exactly. You think Corey's the bear? Corey ain't shit. Like, dude, Shayna's like, whoa. So now we get her fired up. But no, it's all good now.
You wanna ask the
I mean, you've had a tough off season. Did you, with your mom passing, did you have to really grow up and, kind of come to fruition with that? And, how's your mindset changed?
You got me on that. I wasn't ready. Yeah, dude, it's been, yeah, dude, gnarly. If I didn't have a good wife, Bronson, now a wife, I didn't have a good wife, it would have been probably a little bit gnarlier, a lot gnarlier, really. But, like we've been like a lot of peaks and valleys this off season. Dang it.
I'm sorry.
I got no. You're good. So, yeah, if we didn't have Shay, like my dad, like things would have been real different, I think. And what different entails, I don't know. For anyone's sake, like Alex, Bronson's wife, we have a really good group. Like our core group, you, James, Corey, Jared Van and Coy, like everyone has come together and made it super easy for us to not forget, but just not think about. Cause like it's when it goes quiet, right? And there's a lot of things that you don't think about behind the scenes. You just think about the morning of losing someone. But really, it does force you to grow up. And I wasn't good at like I'm not good at that. And then it comes back to Shay being incredible, dude. I'm 27 years old and I lost my mom 2 months ago, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like I don't know. Like Daytona's gonna be rough. They've gone to every race for the last 5 years. I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna do this. And Shayna lost her dad at 19, and I'm like, I don't know how you did that. Like I'm 27 and I haven't even helped with any of the financial stuff really. The estate stuff. Like my dad's always been I'll work the 9 to 5, bring home the money, and my mom took care of the finances. So there was a huge void that had to be filled. That all of the really really good women in our life, Shayna, my mom, Kim, Mitch, Shayna's mom, Holly, Alex's mom, Bronson's wife's mom, that stepped in and just filled this void to help us get through it. And then like my dad, it's just, we're fortunate he came down, because I don't know how things would have gone, and him being in Illinois. And dude, it's just, yeah, that was a blender of a question. I know I'm rambling a little bit and just kind of getting all over, but essentially it makes you grow up, but growing up's a lot harder without having good people around you.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I asked, I've been through it.
You've
I
done
know,
it.
and
You were the first person I texted anything serious to, because like I had a million text messages. As you know, you go numb. Like you're just like, yeah, thank you or appreciate it, and you don't even really It's funny because you remember, or you don't remember who texted you, but you remember who didn't. When you have like core people, and you're like, man, which is maybe selfish, but you just think about stuff like that. And the first like legitimate text I sent, because I had Shayna who lost her dad and Corey who lost his dad. You were the first one as well, because I knew you were a young age, and a mom is, I don't want to say a mom's different, because a parent's a parent, and Shayna was extremely close to her mom, or to her dad, but I was definitely a mama's boy, and it was tough. And I didn't know your relationship with your mom, but I was just like, man, what do you like? You just don't know. You're like, what do you do, or how do you think? It's just so, especially when it's sudden. And I think that, and yours was a little bit different, but it was obviously very sudden, and it just catches you off guard. Obviously catches you real off guard, yeah. But it forces you to grow up.
Yeah, I mean, I have really good, fortunate people. My dad he sends motivational videos 100 times a day. So
just Goggins.
I'll never not have the motivation, but talk about kind of the moto crew and what we've built. I say me, I say we. It's not me. Like, I mean, everybody has to come together as a collective, but like we call this the moto crew, and it's like, I don't know, volume 4 or 5 now, but it's like, I feel like it grows bigger and bigger. We've got, D-Bomb from Ireland over here now. And, it's like, how has that helped? And how does that kind of, we got so many good people that we go riding with. I feel like
it's insane.
When the season started, I'm like, dude, I want the off season again.
I know. It was funny because like, I think we went to the throwdown, like she passed on So we were at the throwdown like 2 weeks after, and I wasn't gonna go. I'm like, dude, I'm not going. And Shayna's like, dude, we gotta go. Like, it's exactly what she would have done. So I get there, you're there, and I'm sponsored by Real Estate Rispoli for the 1v1 race, like title sponsor for the weekend, and then we get a couple podiums and a dash win.
We're in
like,
it.
dude. Like we're
taking exhaust.
Well, dude, we take exhaust. We have exhaust coming in. Tires are getting changed. Like we take over the throwdown. But dude, just like being around your people again, and then coming down here and just the circle when you have a fun moto and everyone's vibing and it's a bummer when someone's not, because you're like, dude, we're a crew. Like let's hype out. Like let's just vibe. Let's get excited about things. And it's dude. It changed everything, and it's exactly what I needed. It's exactly what Shay needed. Unfortunately, because she's so busy, she hasn't had the opportunity to vibe out as much. But dude, like even just Nikki and Giselle and Ashley Robinson, like her having those people for that like hour like or two a day when they get together and get a chance just to not talk about like finances or my dad's Airbnb that my mom ran, and her rentals, and just the breather that you get. It's just like a breath of fresh air. Me getting to come do this with you guys, like I love it just how how it is. It just gets it's when it's quiet, when it's tough.
Yeah.
And we all know that, but it makes it so much easier when you have a great group of guys and girls and see others happy and have success. So
what is some of the advice or like relatability that Shayna's kind of been able to offer you coming from her circumstances? That been like a big thing where she's been able to kind of help you with little things that she used to get through that? Or
yeah, honestly, and it's not even so much what she said, but it's just like forward is the only option, and that's her mentality. And it's not, she doesn't say it, you just see it. So like I'm sitting back and I'm like, okay, she just hung up with Rick. Now she's calling the bank because so and so's owed money, or we need to transfer money. And then she hangs up, and then all of a sudden I look at the clock and it's midnight, and I'm like, Shayna, you gonna come to bed? No, I'm gonna do our leathers quick. And I'm like, okay. So for me, I'm going, she's taking care of everything. How am I gonna be the one that is gonna just not move forward? Like my mom wouldn't want us not to move forward, and then Shayna's has the one with all the stuff on her plate, and Alex has all the stuff on their plate. Like it's the mindset, and it's the attitude, and it's the grind. Like and when you sit back and you see it, what do they say? You are who you hang out with, right? So I'm with her every single day, and she moves forward. And once again, I'm fortunate to have great friends. James is a big, like, let's go get it, dude. Like, what's next? Like, I feel like we have a great group, and obviously we're talking about her here, but if we had downer friends, it would probably bring her down a little bit, which would bring me down a little bit, which would bring my dad down. It's a snowball effect. So with her pushing forward, and I, like, once again, I don't do nearly the stuff she does, but I know that, like, the few things I do have on my plate compared to her, I need to get done, because she is absolutely not. Yeah, like, I gotta take the dogs out, I gotta feed them,
Gotta make a pull, gotta pull.
Exactly. I'm doing espresso. Hey, Shay, you want 2 or 3 pumps of that ice vanilla latte? You know what I mean? Like, that's my job, so I take care of it. But
that's awesome.
That's a big thing. So, and once again, I go back to, okay, imagine being 19 and her parents were separated. So there were so many things that her mom wasn't a part of, where like my dad and my mom were together, obviously. So I don't want to say it was easier, but like I feel like she at 19 her and Corey had a steep hill. So you just kind of, I don't want to say you can compare anything, but you try and compare and be like, all right, she did it then, I can do it now. Let's get going. Yeah. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Sorry we kind of went there, but
You're
it's something
good,
we want to talk about.
You're
I know
good.
Obviously James can relate a little bit,
for
so
sure.
I thought it was
it's definitely appropriate.
Yeah, for sure.
I like that.
A little bit of a side shuffle, but on a similar topic. Like you said, you're a mama's boy. Obviously, your relationship with Shayna, she's like kind of your rock. What was it like having a female mechanic working for you? Like, was that kind of like on the same spectrum, and how did that kind of help you? Was that a turning point, just having her in your corner as well?
Michelle?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, dude, honestly, I think once again, I don't look at it like she is so on it. And it doesn't even register sometimes that she's a female, because we're just like, Michelle, hey, we got to swap that front tire. Like 4 minutes later, it's done. And I'm like, I would put her up against anyone in the paddock to do a tire change. Like, dude, she's got it. So it just, it's very cool. And it's cool now because as Shayna, and I don't want to call her team manager, but she's essentially team manager at this point of RWR for the flat track side, and her and Michelle speak a lot. It's almost like they can get on the phone, they can talk a similar language, and sometimes they can't. But like, it's a cool dynamic that I have a wife that races. We're all going to be on the same easy up again. It's going to be me, Dave, Michelle. It'll be Jake Johnson for her, and it's cool to have a mechanic that's a female that, dude, we win races, and she is, dude, like,
She's in it.
I don't not trust, like, there's never been a time, dude, like Minnesota back in, what year, 2019, she's just shredding a motorcycle to the frame in the middle of the front straightaway while after I just, like, demolished it in the air fence. And I'm like, I got to crawl back on this thing, and I completely trust her. Like, she doesn't miss stuff. So, yeah, dude, it's very cool to not only have just a female mechanic that does it, but a female mechanic that is as precise and on it as she is. So it gets overlooked. I really do think it does. I think that I need to give her more credit to the crowd, to the social media, to the people, which I don't, because I think that we put so much in it ourselves. We get hyped up, and we also overlook it, which isn't fair to her.
Sport.
It is, for sure, because we're also the ones on the bike. But dude, she does an incredible job, and I'm fortunate to have her.
Yeah, that's awesome. What about, like, obviously you're still pretty young. You see some of these other guys, Jared and Sammy, some of these other flat track guys, Brian, who have really like worked to set themselves up off the racetrack. Are you involved in any other things? Are you looking, with a mindset of trying to diversify yourself a little bit?
Dude, honestly, no. That's one thing I struggle with, and I really admire Jared for, and I admire, James with his, real estate Rispoli. Incredible job, by the way.
This is not a sponsored ad.
This isn't sponsored at all, but sold that house quick. First, you know what I mean? But no, I don't do a great job. I'm involved in some investments and stuff like that. But I do really admire like Jared Mees, and I know Sammy does a pretty good job. I don't know much about many others, but I just get so honed in on racing, and I catch myself not doing a good job. Where Shayna has known for years now that she wants to be a team manager when she gets done with this, and I'm like, man, I don't like right now. I just want to win. Like, I just want to race and do what I can do to be the best in my sport, which I think that mindset I've kind of, for a little while, I kind of mentally shut myself down thinking that wasn't good. Like, I need to know what I'm doing next. And now I've kind of accepted the fact that like the mindset I have now, if I take that into anything else outside of this, like I can be successful. Like, we're trying to be the best in the world essentially at flat track. So I do work every single day essentially on being the best flat tracker I can. So whatever's next, whether it's, in racing, if it's not, I'm ready to do whatever it takes to be the best at it. But right now I'm just so honed in and so locked in that I believe it deserves every ounce of my energy and focus. And thus far it's shown. Like, we've had success for the last couple of years, and I want to keep that going. I want to get a new brand, a championship if possible, and just focus on what's here in front of me right now.
What's the motivation like? I mean, we see like the jawline back. We know you're working hard.
Jawline's back, dude. Henry Wiles will be proud.
Like, what's the motivation like this year? I mean, losing the championship. What's the, this year, maybe not a championship. Who knows? We don't know. Like,
We don't
know. We know the bike's good on miles and stuff like that. And I'm sure Dave is going to build something crazy, but what's the motivation like? What's the mindset?
Dude, honestly, I can't even call it motivation as much as I can call it excitement. Like, dude, I'm just fired up. And it's funny because once again, we talked about 2020. I was pretty burnt out going into my second contract with Indian, which isn't fair because they're giving me a lot of money. And beginning of the year, I'm going, shit, I'm not fired up. I don't have this pop, and like they deserve for me to have this pop, which granted, if I'm not winning, Jared's winning. So it's not like they're probably not looking at it the same way I'm looking at it, but it's just like, I get why Eli Tomac has been so fired up, and obviously totally different spectrums, different worlds really. But dude, I'm just ready to get ninth if that's what it is, or 12th. I'm ready for that. I'm ready to not develop because you've obviously had success on the motorcycle, but like just new. Where am I at? Like, not going into a season not knowing is mind blowing to me, because, and I'm not ducking expectation by any means, but it's different going in and everyone's going, all right, dude, you're going to win. You either win the championship or it's not success, which I still have that mentality, but it changes on the outside. So just excited to see where we're at, and basically
try and do something that maybe has never been done, or I know it has never been done before. So excitement, a lot of motivation, but with excitement for me, I was excited for 2019, and I'm excited now. And I've had that fire for a long time, fizzled out a little bit, but I'm excited to have that back and just try something new.
I love it.
Are you doing anything different, like program wise, going into this season versus some of the other ones? Like, what is your routine like?
Not routine. I mean, honestly, a lot of cycling. I do a lot of running. I haven't this season or this off season, but I'm a big like. I go through phases real bad. So like, I come down here with James. We get the watts up, the power on the cycle. They're phenomenal too. Like, you just ask them. And no, so I do a lot of running, a lot of rowing, skiing. But more than anything, and I've told Shayna, like, we've missed some gym days recently, just because of late nights riding the bike. But being on a motorcycle means more to me than anything. Like, dude, stay on a bike, like ride a motorcycle, especially a flat track bike. I've been a little bit disappointed because I've been on a 450 flat track bike recently, and I want to be on my twin if that was a possibility, but I haven't been. So
It doesn't exist yet.
but it doesn't, for me, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I've done a tremendous amount of moto with James and the crew down here. I feel really good. And then now, I probably have, I think we have five flat track days in the last 8 days with Shayna.
Yeah.
And once again, everything's coming together really late. But nonetheless, I feel really confident with that, especially for her. I've seen progress, especially with the new team, new motors, new mapping, stuff like that. So, yeah, the big program for me, especially when we get into the nitty gritty of the season, you kind of get to maintain where you do, grind like we do down here, boot camp. So it's more mid season, just riding, staying on the cycle, staying on your cardio stuff. And then what's going to be easier this year is the fact that we have a more condensed schedule. Like, it's so hard when you have a month and a half after Daytona, when you spend 2 months getting ready. How the heck am I supposed to go up to the snow and wait for a month when you can't really moto up there? You can't keep the same intensity. So
It's like a double boot camp.
it's so tough, man. And I'm excited that we basically just keep it rolling. Hey, the show goes on.
Obviously, mentally, you've got a lot of things going on this off season. Have you been doing anything different in that regard? Have you ever worked like a mental coach or?
I haven't, no, and I've thought about it. I think that my perspective has definitely been a little bit different this year. And I say that every time, and not every time. I feel like I've said that before, but obviously the scenarios you get put that we've had this off season really does change it. And I try and say it to the point where I believe it as well, even before, I lost my mom and, the racing situation of, I was going racing this year, but it wasn't going to be pretty. It was going to be, difficult, but fortunately this deal has come together. But just appreciating this deal, like, I'm fortunate that I get to race a motorcycle, and the nights that me and Shayna are like, we almost argue sometimes because we're both tired. I'm usually tired from, making sure she's good, but she's tired from the phone calls and all this stuff. And just at one time, it's exactly what you wanted. Like,
Yeah.
So a month ago, we had nothing, and we're going, shoot, we're not even racing this year. And now we're going, how the heck are we going to, our team shirts haven't shipped yet. I'm like, guess what? Someone's paying for those. A month ago, we were paying for those. Like, we need to just appreciate it. I mean, I feel personally, you can maybe ask James and a couple of the others, but I feel like on the racing side, besides maybe Cedar Lake, when I was just like, I'm done here. When main event comes around, my racing stuff, like, I'm ready to go. Like, let's do this. I don't see a lot of, I don't want to call it a flaw, but fault or, I don't know what the word would be, but when it's race time, when it's main event, I'm ready to go. So what they say, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
But I do really want to learn to appreciate what I have in front of me more and hopefully help grow the sport. I just want to see, we now have a guy that comes from NASCAR, from IMSA car racing, from IndyCar racing, coming in with open arms saying, let's do this thing. Let's do whatever we can to win you a championship. And like, in my eyes, I'm going, shoot, we have him come in. Like, if I win, maybe that gives an opportunity. Maybe someone else says, hey, like, that's a pretty cool deal. Rick came in, got a guy who is level-headed, incredibly good looking, like, incredible jawline.
Just knifing people up.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we can do this as well. So yeah, just appreciate what we have in front of us.
No, that's really cool. I mean, I think I've, like, the last couple of years, I've had to work to do my own program, and I think it makes you appreciate when you see that whole package come together. And, I know you've raced in the past out of your own van and done that whole deal and put your stuff together. But I think where you're at in your career, with the level you're doing stuff, and obviously doing it with Shayna and all that stuff will be even more fulfilling for you, which is, it's a fun experience to like look back on it like halfway through the year when you're doing well and stuff, and like look at what you kind of built. And then it's also nice to know that you can do that stuff, you know, or at least you got a wife at home that can do that for you. You know what I mean?
No, I do. I fortunately have that because I'll be out to lunch. But I keep talking, and it's funny because, well, you get it, dude. You've run an incredibly successful team. There's that spot before the season starts where you're going, dude, I'm not going to make it. I don't know if I'm going to make it. And then all of a sudden you get to round 10, or not 10, but like round, I don't even know how many rounds you guys have, but whatever, halfway through the season, and you're like, man, I can't believe we're here. Look how, and maybe it's not, but look how good everything looks. We did and you don't want to say you pat yourself on the back. You go, dude, we did it. We're in a great spot. We're having hopefully you're having some success, and you're moving forward. So we've said it multiple times. I said, Shay, these are the dog days right now. This isn't fun. I know that. And, you know, I know that we're stressing to the moon. I probably have more, dude, the hairline's coming in bad. Like, it's not good. But at some point mid-season.
You'll enjoy it. And
it's funny because, like, we went through the same thing with my mom the first 2 weeks. I'm like, we're not going to make it. Like, we're sinking. We're going down. And then you get to week 3, and it's like, oh, it's a little bit better. Week 4. So for us, we're like, do we get to Daytona?
Yeah,
we've made small wins. That's also been my big motto to everyone, is like small wins. Like, how do you set a small, like, there's no such thing as a small goal, but set a goal that maybe isn't like out of reach. Win. Guess what? That makes you win a little bit bigger next time. So that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to build a program that's going to ideally lead into something even bigger. And we want to do a great job for Rick and all of his sponsors. We want to do a great job for the series. I want to win on a new brand. And Shayna wants to show that, although the twin wasn't a very successful go for her, she fought the whole time, but it wasn't exactly what she had in mind. She's still going to come back and do well in the single. So
yeah, that's awesome. I'm envious that you get to work with Rick. I think that'll be cool to work with a NASCAR guy, and
it's been cool.
Somebody who's got like I'm always trying to like look outside the box a little bit and learn new ways to really honestly just keep our sport going. So
it's very cool, and it's all come about so quickly for me that it caught me off guard. I'm like, dude, I don't really know this guy that well, and I knew of him. And it's funny because I called Dave Z, one day, and it was funny because we were talking about my mom, and he goes, hey man, I went through it. He actually once again, Dave and I have more in common than I always know, but he's like, I have a similar scenario with my mom. And I'm like, oh wow, I didn't know that. But then he, like, as soon as he goes to hang up, he goes, hey man, just understand, good things happen to good people, and you and Shayna are good people. And what's funny is Dave Z doesn't say normal things. Like, he is ripping cigs, and he's pounding monsters, and he's building incredible race bikes, but he doesn't say normal things. And I like hung up, and I went into Shay, and I'm like, dude, Shay, just like at Cedar Lake, there's reasons I love Dave, like, and I will back him to the day I die. Literally 2 days later, Rick Ware calls Shay. Hey Shay, I'm gonna be over for the 24-hour. You want to meet up? Yeah, for sure. Goes and meets up, comes back to me, and I wasn't a part of the first meeting. And she's like, hey, he wants to do this, and I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, no, he wants to go all in. And I'm thinking only her side, and I'm like, well, great. I have a bike. I have an older box truck. I'm going to make it work. Shay, you now get to race. This is awesome. And she's like, no. He wants the twin deal. He wants to support Dave and Michelle however he can. So he's been great thus far. That's so awesome. It's been really cool to see someone come in. And what's funny is the connection, like outside the industry connection that we don't understand always. Like, we get so inside this bubble in the flat track world. Like, oh, dude, you got an SNS exhaust? I'm going to buy an SNS exhaust. Oh, so, Gordy Chopre did your head? I'm going to have Gordy. So it's been really cool to see his connection outside the sport because he's involved in so many series. But back to Dave's and Michelle. So Michelle called me, and she goes, hey, or I go to call her about the Rick Ware deal coming together. And she goes, are you serious? I'm like, yeah. Why? What's up? And she goes, well, a couple days ago, Saturday night, Supercross, they did a big thing on Rick with Joey and like all the different disciplines he's involved in. She goes, I literally looked at Dave and said, it would be incredible for us to get a guy like that to be involved with our deal.
That's insane.
It's actually insane. And she goes, I literally looked at Dave and said, man, wouldn't it be cool to have a guy like that would love to, see us, have success in flat track. And I know we do a great job for him. And dude, I'm like,
that's nuts.
Are you kidding me? And she goes, I'm not lying in any way, shape, or form. And
that's the kind of shit that makes you think that something else is going on.
There's a lot of stuff that you're like, no way. So it just, like, the stuff Dave Z says, Michelle says, I'm like, okay, we're we're in good hands whether we see it or not.
That's awesome, man. Well, we're getting pretty far along here. I think 2 last questions. One being, you know, just you as you've matured in like the last several years, obviously, especially this off season, whatnot, what has been for you. What advice do you have for younger kids coming up that are kind of at that 16-year-old age and just thinking about going pro and kind of chasing the same dream that you're more or less the role model now because you are kind of the kid who's worked his way up and are at the top of the class?
Yeah, that's a tough one because you learn by mistake, right? A lot of times, and I did a lot of that. I had a lot of mistakes, but I think the biggest thing is staying level-headed. I wasn't a hothead, but I was emotional when I was young, and that cost. And maybe it didn't. It cost me. It did. It really did. I just was emotional, and I let emotion take over. So if you're young, and also kind of cliche, but dude, the hard work does pay off. And it's funny because very cliche, but I was young, and once back to Bronson, I did do a lot of work on the training side, and I know I had the ability, but it did benefit the backside or the racing side. I think that you have the confidence of like, dude, I work, I work out, and I know I talked about Jared showing me the way, but I did always have that love for being in the trenches. So understand that hard work is going to get you somewhere. Understand that patience in this sport is very key. We talk about Bronson getting the opportunity to come to Indian Motorcycle after literally the week before riding his bike in a van at some TT, like, really not a great motorcycle, and then also he's riding for Indian. So a couple things is just obviously hard work, kind of cliche, but it is accurate as all get out. Ask Goggins. Stay patient, dude. The thing is with this sport is it takes a little bit of time, but you have to be there. And if there's a way, and I know financially it can get difficult. It did for Shayna, it did for it did for a lot of people. It just is what it is.
What's that quote that Dave told you?
Dave Z?
Yeah.
Good things happen to good people?
No, you said there's something about it was canned soup or something.
Oh, dude, look, you gotta eat the soup cold sometimes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. First time I ever called Dave Z. Dave Z actually calls me back in the day, 2017, riding for Dave Zanatti was like, at least to me, granted, other guys, grass is always greener, right? For me, I'm like, dude, I got to get there. So Dave Z calls me, and his first conversation he's like, yeah, man, I think we're going to do this thing, which Dave doesn't have normal conversations. He's difficult to talk to. He like gets ready to hang up. He goes, hey, man, I'm willing to eat the soup cold for a little while. We'll get you going. And like, essentially saying like, hey, dude, I know you're kind of the bottom of the barrel. Like we're kind of running out of dudes to pick up.
Shit for a little bit,
but
we'll
like,
get there.
we'll get you up to speed.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, man, he's already thinking I'm not the guy, but
That's pretty cool though.
it's
awesome.
very cool. So that was our motto this off season. Like when push came to shove, like you want to stay on the Indian, you want to go to the KTM. I want to go to the KTM, Dave. I'm done with the Indian. I'm ready to try something new. And I hit him with, hey, dude, I'm willing to eat the super cold for a little while. And it was kind of like,
That's
dude,
awesome.
It was almost like he had just said it 6 years ago, and I just repeated it because he lost it as if if we just had said it to each other. And obviously that's not the goal. We want to, dude, I have full belief that we can go to Daytona and win, but it was kind of funny just to kind of hit him back with that again.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. I think it's your turn to hit him with the last one.
All right, dude. So here it is. I mean, you've listened to a few podcasts, so you know what's coming.
I'm a big podcast guy.
Do you know what's coming?
I don't.
What?
I don't know why.
Did you finish any of the podcasts?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
No, I didn't.
I don't know.
know you didn't.
No, I
He's
did.
lying.
I listened to
He's
Joe.
lying.
I do. You have two. I listened to Joe. Great job, guys. And I'm like 3/4 of the way through the Johnny one.
All right. So you're on death row, and
I do know this one.
we don't know why you're in prison. I don't even know why he would be in prison.
You're just doing some fucked up shit.
I'm probably just taking Mies out again. So you're in prison.
I
You're
thought
on
I was in
death.
prison last time. So
You're in death row.
they're sending you out.
What's your final meal?
Fine. Dude, tell me I'm not a podcast. Dude, I've thought about this one because I'm like, man, I wonder what it would be just from the Joe one. So I grew up in Salinas, California. A lot of Hispanic heritage. I grew up in lettuce fields. So a lot of incredible Mexican food. So it maybe sounds a little bit random, but we called it the taco shop. It wasn't like, it was just a Mexican restaurant we'd go to. Like me and Shayna back in the day, still trained, but the diet wasn't a thing back then. Dude, I would eat 2 to 3 of these grilled chicken super burritos. And dude, they probably weighed like 3 1/4 pounds. Like these things were monsters. I would get 2 or 3 of them down a week. And dude, I haven't had one in a couple years because I haven't been back to Salinas. And dude, that'd be
Anything
it.
special in them burritos?
Dude, they just honestly, we always talk about it. It's not special, but just the way they season their chicken, I don't know, it was just phenomenal. And obviously, Mexican rice is a lot. At least for me, I love like a good side of Mexican rice. Shayna's a big Mexican rice guy, so dude, something about them, they're phenomenal.
Would you have any drinks?
So, dude, just the whole vibe of this place.
Horchata.
Yeah. No, so I'm not a Bronson be horchata, dude. Bronson's a big horchata guy. But so it's funny, and it's actually come to the point where like Vanderkoy knows dude, a lot of the flat trackers know about this place just because they come out and we would stay at my grandma's house because she had a big house in California, and they would hang out for the week between whatever was between Sacramento, whatever. We always would go there. And it's hilarious because we'd always say, oh, dude, we're cut for mile season. Guess what? We get out there, we have all these restaurants, dude.
On.
Oh, dude, they come right back because I get to Sacramento and everything I lost 2 weeks before, I got back plus some on the way in. But they had this Coke machine, and it was like the Mexican Coke with the real cane sugar. But dude, the thing is, this thing, when you'd go up to it, you could feel the heat radiating off it from like 10 foot out. And you're like, so you get up there and you're like next to it, and it sounds like it's about to throw a rod. It's just, wah, and you like hit it. But dude, it was the most crisp Coke you could ever hit in the history of the world, especially from a fountain. Like, obviously, you know, like out of the bottle, the Mexican sodas are the best. But dude, this thing was sick. Plus refills. Like, come on, just little chips and salsa. That's my go-to right there.
I love it.
Dude,
I love it.
That's a good.
I love a good
think
Mexican meal.
I would say that's probably the best one we've had. Yeah,
bringing it home, dude.
Everyone seems like they've been really struggling with that, and that's pretty cool. I mean, we love the Mexican Coke. We spend half our salary at Costco buying. I know it was like a 30.
I'm in the negative on
dude.
the Mexican Coke.
dude.
Dude, I know.
Crazy.
I have a Costco membership, and trust me.
But I mean, for me, we've been looking forward to this pod. I know we're really good friends, so this one's really been fun for me, and I'm stoked Corey was able to come out and do it. And you know, I really appreciate you coming on and, you know, dropping some knowledge, some wealth, and, you know, helping the young generation and kind of giving us some insight on maybe people that don't know you and your story. That's kind of what it's all about.
No, dude.
Yeah, no, I think, I mean, I know you, but I don't know you like that well. I don't know your story. So I was kind of saying to James, I was like, it's kind of cool because, you know, we're friendly, we're friends, but I get to ask you stuff that I actually would ask you just to get to know you. So, yeah, definitely appreciate you coming on. And I think you're an awesome role model for flat track right now. And, I'm pumped for this year. I think it's going to be sick. And I think you'll show, I think a lot of kids, especially that like you can go out and create your own thing. And I think that's inspiring. I think a lot of people, don't talk about that story. I hope you guys kind of share a little bit more of the insight, as you have some more free time to do so, because I think a lot of people would appreciate to see like the hard work that goes behind the scenes.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys having me on. Dude, I'm a huge podcast guy, and honestly, all this stuff for Moto America's sake, for American Flat Track's sake, this is big. Like, I love seeing growth, and I talk about it, but I just want to grow. I want to grow my series, but if we can grow, you know, Moto America, American Flat Track, you guys do such a good job. I hope I was able to give. I felt like I got in depth to a certain extent with like my time at Indian, and I just want to like, you know, hopefully I did a good job with that, because there was some cool stuff that went on a little bit that maybe people didn't quite understand, like the Mies thing. And yeah, it'd be cool now that we have the release out. I've been documenting, like, you know, Shayna at midnight doing not autograph sheets, but leathers, the bikes, the testing we've done, the stuff like that. It'd be cool to just kind of piece it together and show people what, you know, the nitty gritty.
Yep.
James knows the nitty gritty. The average guy doesn't understand. Like, yeah, we've signed with Rick Ware Racing, but
They're just like, they only see Daytona and they see qualifying in the race.
Oh, wow, Briar didn't do well. Or, oh, wow, Briar won. They must have had a crazy amount of time on the bike, or everything's
huge budget,
super serious. And no, dude, it's a grind. And once again, a lot of credit to Shayna, but I have a lot of cool photos and videos to kind of show people that, and the kids, like, hey, dude, it ain't easy. It's not easy at all. I know I've had it, and
It's
a little
funny.
bit, little bit of reality check, slap me in the face.
I'm FaceTiming him like, dude, I'm trying to take my shock out of my bike, and this guy's putting floor down in his box truck.
You remember that? Yeah.
I'm like, dude, like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? And he goes, man, I'm putting floor down. I'm by myself out here. And I'm like, dude.
Yeah. It's the coolest part, though, as you know, just seeing it come together. Like, today I know we're wrapping things up, but like today we were running around just almost getting like the finishing touches for the box truck trailer. And I'm like, dude, we're almost there. And obviously after Daytona, you always realize what you don't have when you get to the race.
Yep.
but I'm ready to get to that point. Like we're not going, whoa, it's way out here. We're not going to make it. Now we're like, dude, we're close. Like this is real close. So I'm pretty pumped on that.
That's awesome. Where can people find you? Where can they follow you at?
Dude,
All that stuff.
Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Briar Bauman 4. Wow. That's a long time ago. Briar Bauman. What is my Facebook? I don't even know what my Facebook is.
Right.
Just look at Briar Bauman Racing. And Briar Bauman Racing on Facebook, but just Briar Bauman on Instagram and Twitter. Just recently had a reel just go absolutely viral.
Absolutely. I heard Mark Marquez liked it.
Marquez, if you're out there, dude, appreciate the love. Don't just give it a share or like a follow.
Dude, imagine if he shared that story, you'd be huge.
I bet what's funny, am I able to see who sends things out? Like, you know how dude has like
don't know.
5,300 shares, dude. I'm going to see if Marquez sent it to his boys.
He probably did. He was probably like, hey, Bobby.
He said, "Oh, dude, I guarantee this guy crashed trying it." And then I'll put the next one up. Be like, "Told you guys." So
Cool, man. Well, we appreciate it. We'll
Dude.
do it again soon.
stoked to be on here. Thank you guys.
Cheers, bud.
Cheers.